Yo, it's your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics. Back at you with a new video. Today is Sunday, October 26th, 2025, with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can. Cash App $ ORION NWSF or the YouTube Super Chat right here. We got the Green Bay Packers versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Sunday Night Football on NBC. Can't wait to be able to see this particular matchup with Aaron Rodgers on the Steelers going against his former team, the Green Bay Packers. Hope everyone is having a fantastic Sunday. Let's cue up the music, take a look at the thumb, and let's get ready for some Sunday Night Football. And on the thumb, on the left, the Green Bay Packer quarterback guru, Jordan Love. And on the right, one of the best defenders in the game, Steelers stud, T.J. Watt. Daniel in the building, what's good? And again, usually the Thursday night matchups end up being a little light, but usually, for the most part, not every week, but Sunday night and Monday night typically deliver. And you might not be a Steeler fan, you might not be a Packer fan, you might not have any of these guys on your fantasy roster, but it's a good matchup. 4-1-1 with the Green Bay Packers when they tied with the Cowboys a few weeks back. And the 4-2 Pittsburgh Steelers, 2-1 at home. So again, the only thing that might be a little crazy today are the Steelers throwback unis. I've definitely seen better looking throwback unis than the ones that they're wearing. Usually when they end up going way, way back, it's a little bit of a questionable look. And obviously, as you know, with the Pittsburgh Steelers, regardless of the uniform, they're going to try to bring it in front of their hometown fans. And Green Bay, looking pretty smooth and icy out there, going with the white helmet and the all-white uniform. And again, definitely looking forward to see how this matches up at the end of the night with Aaron Rodgers on the Steelers going against Jordan Love. Obviously, you got playmakers for Aaron Rodgers with DK Metcalf on the defensive side, TJ Watt. And this might be the X factor right here. Josh Jacobs, obviously 111 carries for 8 tutties, a little bit better production than Jaylen Warren on the opposite side. And Rashawn Gary doing his thing with the sack lunches this year as well. Marine Bean in the building. What's good? And it's nice to be able to take a little bit of a break, in between a few games of the World Series. Congratulations to the Blue Jays and the Dodgers for getting 1 win apiece. And we will be obviously live tomorrow for game 3, 4, and 5 in Los Angeles on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then it looks like we'll probably do Thursday Night Football. The matchup isn't the greatest. If Lamar plays, it'll be a little bit more fun to watch. It'll be Ravens versus Dolphins, so kind of the battle of the bads. And then if we go to Game 6 and Game 7 in the World Series, which we assume it will probably go that far, those will be back in Toronto on Friday and Saturday. So we're going to be streaming pretty much every day, nonstop for about a week. I'm definitely excited to see how this plays out here tonight, as well as the World Series. And I hope everyone had a fantastic Sunday. Obviously, let's go over some of the scores that we had here today. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers 23, Saints 3. Antoine Winfield Jr. getting robbed of some touchdowns defensively, saying that the whistle was blown. They ended up doing the review. No whistle was blown, but I'll still take a 20-point win. 23-20 Buccaneers over the Saints. The Bucs improved to 6-2, and I like that. Let's see, Dolphins winning against the Falcons, 34-10, beating the brakes off of Kirk Cousins, getting a chance to come in and replacing Michael Penix Jr. with a minor injury. Jets coming back and getting their first win of the year with Justin Fields, 39-38 over the Bengals. Patriots, one of the more surprising teams in the NFL this year. Drake May, he's the truth. 18 for 24, 282 yards and 3 tutties, beating the Browns 32-13. That's awesome for New England fans in the post-Tom Brady, Bill Belichick era. Eagles 38, Giants 20. You knew that was more than likely going to be the case, but the big story of the day, Cam Skattebo with the air cast on the ankle. Looks like his season is done. Jackson Dart, the luck is just, not ideal, for a guy like that. You definitely would want to be able to have, Malik Neighbors and Cam Skattebo at your disposal. It's going to be a little bit longer of a season, obviously, now for the Giants. Eagles improved to 6-2. Bills 40, Panthers 9. They improved to 5-2. Obviously, great day by James Cook the third, 19 carries, 216 yards, and 2 tutties on the ground. That's amazing. Ravens 30, Bears 16. And even though the Bears are having an up and down season, we'll see how their season progresses. And obviously the Ravens want Lamar Jackson back ASAP. Texans 26, Niners 15. CJ Stroud had a good game, 30 for 39, 318 yards and 2 tutties, starting to kind of get back closer to that 500 number. And then another guy that's really been showing out is the Bo Nix, quarterback for the Denver Broncos, right? 4 tutties for him. You've seen him play on a high level, and obviously, it's a learning, progression when you're a rookie. But the Broncos now improved to 6-2, the team to beat in the AFC West, blowing the Cowboys out 44-24. And then the Colts with another quarterback that needs to be mentioned, Daniel Jones. We know Drake May obviously is shaking a lot of the competition down, just like Bo Nix, and Daniel Jones as well. 21 for 29, 272 yards and 3 tutties. Also, Jonathan Taylor playing like the best running back in the game. 12 carries, 153 yards and 2 tutties. 38-14 win over the Titans. The Colts improved to 7-1. And then Monday night's matchup tomorrow will be the Chiefs versus the Commanders, but with no Jaden Daniels. So a pretty wild, kind of, spectrum of games, over the weekend. Now, if we had Jaden Daniels versus Patrick Mahomes on Monday, obviously that would be a little bit more exciting. We'll keep tabs on that when we do World Series Game 3 tomorrow between the Blue Jays and the Dodgers. But definitely felt good. Even though we only got our first touchdown right before half, kind of coincidentally like the Ducks did. But I knew in the second half things would be better. Saints defense was stifling, but again, we found a way to get the job done, mostly defensively. And again, we know the Saints are tanking, but they definitely always try to beat us. There's one thing for sure, if you ask any Saint fan, even if they end up having every game as an L, if they can win 1 or 2 games for the whole season, if they're going to be bad, they would want that to be the Atlanta Falcons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I already knew it was going to be a little bit of a physical battle, especially in the first half, but definitely feels good to be in the win column. And Tampa is still one of the best best teams in the NFC as well as the NFL, even though we don't have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Bucky Irving, and a few other individuals on defense. The rushing game isn't as good as I would like. But again, a win is a win. And hopefully at some point, Bucky Irving, Godwin, and a few others will be back with the team, especially with Mike and his injury with obviously his upper body, and he might be out for the year. All right, we're just about ready to get started here with the Green Bay Packers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. We need 13 subs to be able to hit 22,300. Let's go. Steelers with the kickoff. And Savion Williams with the return. And I'm really liking the Green Bay Packers white on white on white with their helmets. Not so much for the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of times when they go with those old school Bumblebee uniforms, and they've had a couple throwbacks, they definitely are not on the same level as Tampa's, Seattle's, Phillies, and a few other teams where we know they have elite throwback unis. Holding penalty there on the Green Bay Packers on Brooks. And that'll bring them back 10 more yards for Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. Absolutely, the Broncos did, 100%. I love the old school blue helmet and with the orange. And again, orange doesn't really go very well, unless you're trying to rock the old school Buccaneer look, or Tennessee Volunteers in college. But the pairing of the color of blue with that orange crush It's the best combination I think that you can pair up with orange, and they look spectacular today, just like Bo Nix did with Tez Johnson for the Denver Broncos. Short gain right up the middle there. Josh Jacobs, 4-yard gain, 2nd down and 6 at the Green Bay 24. And again, definitely excited to be able to see how Aaron Rodgers matches up with Jordan Love. Playmakers, DK Metcalf and Josh Jacobs helping their teams win. And on defense, TJ Watt going against Rashawn Gary. Who will end up with more sack lunches at the end of the night. Little check down there on 2nd down. And Jordan Love to Christian Watson for a 5-yard gain. 3rd down and 1 at the Green Bay 29. Kind of surprised Watson's out there with the severity of the injury, at least reported to the media. But again, we will see how well he does out there with that injury, maybe, lingering and not obviously being 100% out there. 3rd down and 1. Love, pressure. And a pass right in the middle with a slant, incomplete, triple coverage. Jordan Love to Romeo Doubs, Joey Porter Jr. in coverage. And the Steeler fans are loving that. Good blitz right up the middle there by the Steelers. And anytime they hit you with a delayed blitz, or a surprise corner blitz from, 3rd down, that definitely can turn the tides, on moving the chains. 4th down and 1. And we would assume that there won't be any trickery here based off the position of where the ball is, being on the Packers 50. Punt is off. Pretty good one there, all the way down to the 15-yard line. And good special teams there by the Packers. Only a 5-yard gain. And Melton with the tackle. And now up for the Pittsburgh Steelers will be Aaron Rodgers going against his former team. And that obviously he's got a lot of motivation. Anytime you end up leaving a team, whether it's on your terms or not, you definitely want to get payback. 1st down and 10 at the Pittsburgh 20. I don't even know what to think about these uniforms the Steelers are wearing. Obviously, I know they're, old school, almost 100 years old. When you're, anytime you have a uniform that's like 50 to 100 years old, you do run the risk of it looking like this. Now, if they would have went with yellow pants matching the jersey, it would be a little bit better. I mean, it still looks terrible, but obviously having the tan on the bottom, but they're obviously trying to recreate the exact image of the jerseys that they ended up wearing, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years ago. So Jaylen Warren with a 3-yard gain there. McKinney with the tackle from the Packers. 2nd down and 7 at the Pittsburgh 23. And obviously Jaylen Warren is going to have to be a factor. They're going to run the ball with Josh Jacobs on the other side with Jordan Love. And we'll see if DK Metcalf and Freiermuth and company can step up and make some plays. Rodgers, little check down. And a gang tackle there by the Packers. Spencer Anderson with the catch for 4 yards. McDuffie with the tackle. Third down and 3 at the Pittsburgh 27. Yes, I agree. Third down and 3, shotgun set, 4 wide receiver set here for the Steelers. Clean snap, Rodgers, little play action bootleg, going long, going deep, one-on-one, got a man, and it is caught. Wow. How do you let the wide receiver get behind the secondary and the safety over the top? Terrible defense there by the Packers secondary. Great throw, great vision, and a great catch there by Pittsburgh. Rodgers to Wilson, 45 yards. First down, Steelers. Move the chains. First down and 10 at the Green Bay 28. That's beautiful. That's like Rodgers in his prime back when he was in Green Bay, giving the Packers a little bit of their own medicine. I do like the Green Bay uniforms, though, with the white helmet, white jersey, white pants. That's a clean look. And Jaylen Warren with a nice cutback, avoids one tackle, but goes down with 3. Packers right in front of him. 5-yard gain. McDuffie, the lead tackler. 2nd down and 5 at the Green Bay 23. 0-0 here early between Green Bay and Pittsburgh in the first quarter. But I was looking forward to this matchup all day. You know, I might not be really a huge Packer or Steeler supporter myself, or really a lot of their players, but obviously based on how they both played this year, they definitely are 2 of the better teams, you know, that are in their respective leagues, and they both could end up potentially winning their divisions, even though Detroit will have something to say about that in the NFC North. And obviously we know Pittsburgh is definitely by far the best team in the AFC North. And we got a 10-yard penalty here, offensive pass interference. DK Metcalf. Can't be doing that. Yeah, very blatant push off there. A push off for a gain of pretty much nothing. Like, why would you even do that? 2nd down and 15 at the Green Bay 33. And it definitely feels like something is a little bit missing with no Najee Harris in the backfield for the Steelers anymore. You know, went to the Chargers and ended up getting hurt. Shotgun set, Rodgers, little check down. And a great tackle there on Jaylen Warren for no gain. Cooper with the big tackle. 3rd down and 15 at the Green Bay 33. We'll see if we get Rodgers to DK Metcalf here at some point. 3rd down and 15. 3 wide receiver set, shotgun set for Rodgers. Let's see if the Packers bring the blitz with Rashawn Gary. Blitz up the middle. Rodgers. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. And Rashawn Gary, like I mentioned, you know, again, he is a sack lunch machine. And don't forget, Micah Parsons is on the roster as well. Field goal is up by Chris Boswell, and it's good. 3-0. 56-yarder. Nice job. Nice job by the Steelers to get on the board, even though that's not exactly what they wanted since the drive started to stall there, with good defense by the Green Bay Packers. After the commercial break, we'll see what Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs got in store for Green Bay. (3-0) Pittsburgh. .841 left in the first quarter. 3-0 Steelers. 4-2 with a 2-1 record at home, with the Green Bay Packers being 4-1-1 with that tie against the Cowboys a few weeks back. And again, 1-1 on the road. 1-1 on the road. 49 passing yards for Rodgers. 45 to Wilson with that one big long reception. Jaylen Warren with only 8 rushing yards, and they're going to probably need to have him get as close to 100 as possible. And then obviously with Jordan Love, first drive, we'll see what we end up getting if it ends up being an extended drive. Obviously 5 yards passing, 4 yards for Josh Jacobs, Christian Watson with 1 reception of 5 yards. And really the story so far is Rashawn Gary with a first sack lunch, and that probably won't be the last sack lunch that Gary will get here before the game is up. I'm looking at the injury report just to see who they got listed here. Brinson and Haversick, Wicks, Van Ness, Monk for the Packers, Pete Miller, Leo Lee, and Harrison for the Steelers. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. I would assume that they'll pound the rock pretty heavy with Jacobs, and eventually, the Steelers will cheat up, and then you'll be able to go over the top with a big play with Jordan Love. Love will have to use his legs, for them to be able to win this game against Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. I'm not saying that he's got to, run for 60 plus yards, but I would assume 20 to 40 yards rushing out of Love, to help get a few first downs, at some point in the first half and second half may be ideal, especially when you need to move the chains. And a good run back here by the Packers. 30-yard return. And we'll see what happens here with Jordan Love and company. Steelers got some real beast players there on defense. Man in motion. And a little 3-yard run there for Josh Jacobs. Holcomb with the tackle on the halfback toss as he kind of trips over himself. 2nd down and 7 at the Green Bay 36. 3-0 Pittsburgh here early in the first quarter. 8:20 and counting here in the first. Man in motion. Love under center. Play action. And a nice pass right in the middle of the field with that post route. Romeo Doubs, 24 yards. Holcomb with the tackle. First down, Packers. Move the chains. That was pretty. Good protection up front. Real quick pass with that slant. And it was a little bit, behind him slightly, but a little bit of an adjustment and got that big first down. 2 hands on that football is very key. Jacobs run up the middle, breaks 1 tackle, but not the second. Benton with the tackle, shoestring. 2nd down and 5 at the Pittsburgh 35. And Myles Garrett, 5 sack lunches. That's wild. Second down and 5. Shotgun set for Jordan Love. Good protection up front. Quick pass there. And a nice little hitch there. Romeo Doubs, 6-yard gain. First down, Packers. Starting to get a little bit of momentum here for Green Bay in the offense. First down and 10 at the Pittsburgh 29. 6:30 left in the first quarter. 3-0 Pittsburgh. 2 receptions for 30 yards for Romeo Doubs. shotgun set, screen pass. Heath breaks one tackle, dances towards the sideline. First down, Packers. Wilson with the tackle there, 13-yard gain for Heath. And Jordan Love is just dinking and doinking and continuing to be able to move the chains here early in the first quarter. Packers getting very close to getting the ball in position for a big play. And here we go. Broken tackle. Touchdown. Packers. Tucker Kraft doing Tucker Kraft things. One of the better tight ends in the game. Doesn't really get the same type of recognition as some of the other tight ends in the NFL, but very reliable, good route running, good hands, and obviously good upper body strength. Keeping those legs moving and churning in for a tutty there for the Green Bay Packers. Great vision there by Tucker Kraft. Extra point is up and good. 7-3 Packers here early in the first quarter. And you knew it was going to be back and forth. And, you know, I assume that this will be a game that definitely could potentially get into the 30s. But so far, so good. 7-3 Packers. Nice touchdown drive there for the Green Bay Packers. Let's take a look at the stat line there. Tucker Kraft, 16-yard pass from Jordan Love. Brandon McManus kick is up and good. 6 plays, 67 yards for the Green Bay Packers. All right, so now we got Jordan Love, 5 for 6 with 1 TD. And definitely looked very efficient on that second drive compared to the first. And we'll see if Aaron Rodgers can match on this next drive for him, starting off the game 3 for 3. But they definitely need to get Jaylen Warren some opportunities so that can open up the game, you know, for Freiermuth, DK, and others. 5:05 left in the first quarter. Nice job by Jordan Love on that drive. See if Josh Jacobs will get more involved in the first half as they continue to march down the field pretty easily here early on. And obviously we'll see what defensive players like Rashawn Gary and TJ Watt, what kind of impact they'll have on the game as well. All right, McManus with the kickoff, and that ends up being a touchback. Get back to the Pittsburgh 35. 5:05 left here in the first quarter. First down and 10 at the Pittsburgh 35. Rogers under center. Handoff up the middle for 2 yards. And goes down pretty quickly there. 2nd down and 8 at the Pittsburgh 37. McDuffie with the tackle for the Packers. Second down and 8 at the Pittsburgh 37. 7-3 Packers here early in the first quarter. Sunday Night Football on NBC. Shotgun set, Rogers, little screen pass, flag is down. And Freiermuth with the catch. So that might be an illegal shift. Illegal shift is called. 2nd down and 13 at the Pittsburgh 32. 5-yard penalty. Second down and 13 after that self-inflicted wound there by Pittsburgh. Shotgun set. And almost intercepted. Pass towards that sideline to Austin. And Cooper was maybe a millisecond away from making a huge play for the Green Bay Packers secondary. Pass incomplete. 3rd down and 13 at the Pittsburgh 32. See if Green Bay brings the blitz here again on 3rd down and long. Shotgun set, Rogers, little quick pass to Freiermuth, and that's nowhere near the 1st down marker, 5-yard reception. Cooper is everywhere for the Packers here early. 4th down and 8 at the Pittsburgh 37, and that will lead to a punt to Green Bay. Yeah, I mean, obviously they didn't, the rain was coming down. You know, I ended up watching the, replay, and I was watching it while we were doing the World Series stream, and it was an ugly game. And then Dante Moore, our starting quarterback, went out with an injury. So, you know, it definitely wasn't what I think any Duck fan expected, you know, but again, with rain and your, QB1 going out, fumble, but I'll take a win, and again, I assume like when, we have a bye week and when we play Iowa, I assume, any team that we play that's kind of like a middle of the pack team in the Big Ten, their defense, could be an issue, even though I feel that we, could win a good majority of the games the rest of the way, but I'm not really taking anybody for granted. So we're going to commercial break. 7-3 Packers, 3:20 left here in the first quarter. 1st down and 10 at the Green Bay 18 after that muff. And we will see what Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers will do on their 3rd drive here. TJ in the building. What's good? Primetime did get whooped by Utah. Yeah, absolutely. I like what Washington did. I don't think anyone really is talking about Damon Williams or Jonah Coleman or Denzel Boston the way that they deserve to be talked about, and it was nice to be able to see the Huskies and the Ducks, both get victories, but not really in the same way. The Ducks won ugly with rain and injuries. Huskies look pretty strong from beginning to end. And, it's nice to be able to, watch special talent. And again, if Damon Williams ends up staying in college, for a few more years, it wouldn't shock me if they end up getting on a run like they did when they had Michael Penix Jr. and Damon Williams in, a year or two, he might be able to be one of the front runners for the Heisman, and definitely excited to see where he goes. Kind of the college version of a Kyler Murray, but he can run, he can throw, he's accurate. He got a good head on his shoulders, and anytime, when the Ducks aren't on, that's the first team that I'm looking to watch, to be able to kind of see, how they're doing. And, we already know Ohio State and Indiana are fantastic, and Indiana kind of has taken the spot of Penn State and Michigan as one of the top teams in the Big Ten. But, I definitely want to see Oregon and Washington, be towards the top as well. And, we'll see kind of how things play out as the season continues. Mackenzie in the building. What's good? 3:20 left here in the first quarter. 7-3 Packers. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And we needed 13 subs to be able to get to 23,200. Play action fake. Love. Plenty of time. Little check down. And Emmanuel Wilson, gets popped out of bounds. A bang play. No late hit there, but starting to get a little physical for the Pittsburgh Steelers. 8-yard pass to Wilson. 2nd down and 2 at the Green Bay 26. We'll be doing World Series Game 3, Game 4, Game 5 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night football, Ravens and Dolphins, and then Game 6 and Game 7 of the World Series on Friday and Saturday. So the next 6-7 days are going to be jam-packed with either the NFL or the World Series. And Wilson run up the middle for 2 yards. Hayward and Wilson with the tackle, and they will give them the first down. First down, Packers. Move the chains. Yeah, and I honestly think if Indiana played Ohio State, I think they would have a chance, based on, how they looked against Oregon, how they've been playing against everyone this year, being top 10 in offense, defense, and special teams. We know the Buckeyes are amazing, and they're going to have more 5-star recruits, but Indiana has really coached well. And a nice play towards the sideline. Go, go, go. Broken tackle. Wow. And Tucker Kraft showing you he's one of the best tight ends in the game. First down, Packers. 33-yard pass. Jordan Love to Tucker Kraft towards the sideline. Cuts it back in towards the 50. And again, he makes so many individuals miss. Nice cutback and good vision, good strength, and being able to keep 2 hands on the ball there late to prevent a big fumble. Nice job there by Tucker Kraft. And now we got a timeout, Green Bay. Seven 7-3 Green Bay with 1:10 left here in the first quarter. You can always tell like certain tight ends if they played basketball growing up as well. The athleticism that some of these guys have at tight end. Not a surprise. Handoff up the middle. And a 1-yard run there by Williams. Wilson with the tackle. 2nd down and 9 at the Pittsburgh 38. Savion Williams with the 1-yard gain. 55 seconds and counting left here in the first quarter. 7-3 Green Bay. And that's the end of the first quarter. 7-3 Green Bay. Not exactly what they were probably wanting, out of this last play before the quarter ended with the screen pass to Golden, but good tackle there by Pittsburgh. And we're going to be going to a commercial break, going into the second quarter, and we'll see if the Steeler defense can come up with a big play to be able to match what the Packers have been doing on offense on their last few drives. Yeah, Jets comeback was pretty wild. I feel like, right now, if you're looking at, kind of surprises, and they may not really be that much of a big surprise, but I'm really happy, the way Bo Nix and the Broncos have been playing. They showed you how good they were with limited, offensive weaponry for Bo last year, and they were able to overachieve. And now they look like the best team in the AFC West. Bo looks amazing. He's got a good supporting cast, great defense, good coach to be able to mentor him. They still are a little bit light with offensive weaponry, but, Bo is, gaining some good ground with obviously his college teammate with Tez Johnson and whatnot. So nice to be able to see them have a good relationship there. And, it wasn't very strong last year, but much better this year. Daniel Jones looking fantastic for the Colts. It also helps when you might have the best running back in the league this year in Jonathan Taylor. And Drake May for the New England Patriots. I don't think anyone anticipated the Colts and the Patriots being good this year. And again, or at least not this good. And it's always kind of a nice thing to see when you get people that are journeymen, even like a Sam Darnold or a Baker Mayfield, or even names that are even lower, like Drake May, even though that was kind of a high draft pick and a popular name. But, what we saw from May last year, you didn't really have any indication that he was going to be this good this year. And same thing with Daniel Jones, going from one team to the next. And, Daniel Jones, if he still was on Minnesota, maybe things would be much better now than what they're having to deal with Carson Wentz and JJ McCarthy. But, it shows you, it really is important to be able to have people that know what they're doing, in an organization. Otherwise you turn into Minnesota and then you end up leaving yourself with not a whole lot of talent at quarterback, with a lot of talent at running back, wide receiver, and tight end that just don't get the ball, And again, if Minnesota was smart, they probably should have drafted a guy like a Jackson Dart. That would have been the perfect fit for Jetta and the rest of the crew, and Addison and Hawkinson to actually get the ball. Otherwise you're in a situation where you got an injured JJ McCarthy, you got an injured Carson Wentz, and obviously they probably wish that they still had Sam Darnold or, possibly Daniel Jones. But again, sometimes, one individual team's player at quarterback might be garbage to them, but it could end up being gold somewhere else. But, you never know what you're going to get, year in and year out in an NFL season. But those are the three guys that, it makes me feel really good. Besides, obviously, Baker and Sam, those guys are already getting the pub and the recognition. But, Daniel Jones, Bo Nix, on top of, a few other individuals making those big moves and big plays. Nice to be able to see those guys take off and have some success. I see you, Daniel Jones. I see you, Bo Nix. I see you, Drake May. Yeah. But also, again, sometimes, with Baker Mayfield, it's just not a good organization, right? With the Browns, and then went to Carolina, and then got 5 games with the Rams, and then was able to get picked up by Tampa. And sometimes you got to go to your second, third, fourth team before you find your final home. Floater going long, going deep towards the sideline, and complete. Field goal up. And missed. Wow. 7-3 Packers, and that's huge there for Pittsburgh, and hopefully they'll be able to score a touchdown and take the lead on this next drive. A 57-yard field goal missed by McManus. All right, we'll see what is up next for Aaron Rodgers. And let's see if they can get DK Metcalf some opportunities. TJ Watt really hasn't been able to impose his will just yet, like Rashawn Gary with his sack lunch. But again, we'll see if they can get, enough opportunities to Jaylen Warren. You don't want to, be one-sided. You want to make sure that you're running the football to keep the defense honest. And then eventually those big plays will open up, for Aaron going against his former team in Green Bay here at home in Pittsburgh. Short pass there from Rodgers to DK. 5-yard gain. Quay Walker with the tackle. 2nd down and 5. Gainwell with a 9-yard gain there. Valentine with the tackle. 1st down, Steelers. Move the chains. Jacob in the building. What's good? 1st down and 10 at the Green Bay 39 after that 9-yard run by Gainwell. I mean, I don't think very many people are liking those jerseys. I mean, even if they went yellow and yellow, mustard yellow top, mustard yellow bottom. But again, these are throwbacks that are, almost 100 years, old and whatnot. So that's why they look that way. Now, obviously, if they were using some kind of throwback from the 80s or 90s, like, most teams do, like Tampa or, Seattle or Philadelphia, it wouldn't look like this. But I definitely am liking the uniforms more for Green Bay than Pittsburgh. But obviously, if I had a choice between Pittsburgh or Green Bay winning this, game, I would rather have Pittsburgh win. So, a lot of those kind of bumblebee uniforms. I mean, this would have been a much better game to go all black, like a standard uniform combo against the icy whites that they're wearing for Green Bay with the white helmet, the white jersey, and the white pants. That's a pretty clean look. So that might be the only thing that I don't like about Pittsburgh tonight, the jerseys. Everything else, I like what I see. Besides them not having as much depth at running back with no Najee Harris anymore, it kind of feels like there's something missing. Like Jaylen Warren is okay, but he's more of an RB2. And again, there's times where he stepped up as an RB1 when Najee was hurt and whatnot, but he can't do it by himself. He's not good enough. So obviously they have Gainwell there and a few others running back by committee, but they definitely need, a horse, running back, a Jerome Bettis type, that they can lean on. And, maybe in the near future, they'll be able to get somebody like that. Shotgun set, Rodgers, pocket breaking down, floater, and DK Metcalf, intended receiver and complete. And that is 4th down and 3. Field goal is up by Boswell, and it is good. 7-6 Green Bay. Appreciate that, TJ. Every like, every sub, every view, every dono, everything counts. And again, we'll be doing World Series Game 3, Game 4, Game 5 in LA. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for the live stream. Thursday, that will be a travel day back to Toronto. So we'll do Thursday night football. And again, if Lamar plays, that'll be a little bit funner of a game to call and watch. Ravens versus Dolphins, the battle of the bad. And again, we'll see how that plays out. Obviously, you would want a little bit better of a matchup than that. But again, some Thursday night matchups are going to be good. Others are going to be, not so much. But again, we'll have to make the, best of a, so-so situation based off the matchup. But if Lamar plays, that'll be more exciting than obviously having Huntley, play as quarterback. So we'll see where that goes. And then obviously Game 6 and Game 7 for the World Series, which I assume it will go that far, will be on Friday and Saturday. And then we'll go into Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, and then once we go into that following week when baseball is completely over, then we'll be sprinkling in a little bit of NBA, a little bit of NHL, maybe even some NASCAR at some point, as we're getting kind of towards the end and whatnot. It kind of just depends. Maybe WWE, I don't know. We'll kind of have to wait and see, what the main, games are on those particular days. But those will be the things that we'll be leaning on until we get back into, obviously, baseball season next year. 12:18 left in the second quarter, 7-6 Packers. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Go over some of the scores from today. Buccaneers 23, Saints 3. Go Bucks. Dolphins 34, Falcons 10. Michael Penix Jr. was hurt. Kirk Cousins is terrible. And the Dolphins find a way to win a game finally. Tua with 4 tutties. What? Jets 39, Bengals 38 in a game the Bengals gave away. Jets get the first win of the season. They're 1-7. Patriots 32, Browns 13, and this might be the most surprising team in the NFL, not named the Indianapolis Colts. Drake May is the truth. 18 for 24, 282 yards and 3 tutties. I love what Drake May is doing. Eagles 38, Giants 20 with a Scadaboo ankle. He'll be out for the year, which is unfortunate. Bills 40, Panthers 9. Ravens 30, Bears 16. Texans 26, Niners 15. And the Broncos dominating the Cowboys 44-24. Bo Nix with 4 tutties. Put some respect on his name. And the Colts 38, Titans 14. Daniel Jones 21 for 29, 272 and 3 TDs. I love it. Great to be able to see, some of those guys that maybe were, slept on, or, there was a certain type of image, that we thought, Bo Nix is pretty good, but can he be great? Can he be a top 10 quarterback? And the answer is yes. And obviously with Daniel Jones and Drake May, no one really had any expectations of those guys, and those guys are killing it this year in 2025. So you just never know with a coaching change, a few new rookies, a new coordinator. There's a lot of different reasons why, these teams are playing better, and I'm definitely here for it. First down and 10, Jordan Love to Romeo Doubs for a deep pass there, incomplete. And we have an injury here on the field for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Second down and 10 at the Green Bay 26. Appreciate that, TJ. Second down and 10 at the Green Bay 26, 7-6 Packers. And obviously, the uniform selection for Pittsburgh, not ideal. It would be much better for them to go all black or just a regular standard classic uniform. But, it is what it is. You have to pay homage to your history. And, when you've been around as long as the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're going to have some classic uniforms that, remind you of Mean Joe Green or Ben Roethlisberger or Jerome Bettis. And then there's going to be others that look like this where, you would think maybe they need to burn these uniforms and never wear them again. But even with that being said, the Steelers still have enough talent to be able to win at home and to be able to get a win for Aaron Rodgers against his former team. And again, the Packers, have enough talent on their side of the ball as well, offense and defense, to get a win on the road. 4-1 the Packers. That tie happened against the Cowboys a few weeks back, and an amazing game that went to overtime. And then the Steelers have been a little bit of a surprise this year as well. I think that we assumed the Ravens would be the best team in the division. And obviously with the injuries to Lamar and a bunch of other players, they have had a terrible year. Also coaching from the Harbaugh offensive coordinator situation has not been good. They've blown more games in the fourth quarter than any other team in the AFC. And that's kind of the reason why Lamar hasn't been able to go to a Super Bowl and win one yet, because of the coaching. And then Steelers 4-2, 2-1. I don't know if any of us really anticipated Aaron Rodgers playing this well after what we saw with him on the Jets. But again, if you go to a team that has better history, better coaching, better structure, you might be old as hell, but you can still end up, showing that you got a little bit left in the tank. And again, you got to think if Aaron Rodgers would have finished his career on the Jets, we wouldn't even be talking about him today. We'd be talking about him possibly maybe going into retirement, or he should. So it's kind of nice when you can end up leaving a bad situation and then going somewhere else and being able to prove himself one time again. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. You haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. But we'll get a lot of Rodgers, a lot of DK, and I'm a defensive guy, so this is the guy that I love watching the most on the Steelers, TJ Watt. And then obviously the Packers got a lot of Jordan Love. Josh Jacobs has been great this year for the Packers, and Rashawn Gary is the equivalent to TJ Watt. He's a sack lunch master this year, and he already has one in this game, and it wouldn't surprise me if he gets another 1 or 2 more before the game is up. Now, I don't think he'll get Myles Garrett status of 5 today, which is wild, but there's not too many guys that are on Myles Garrett's level in the NFL. 1 yard run there from Josh Jacobs up the middle. Elliott with the tackle with Wilson for the Steelers. 3rd down and 9 at the Green Bay 27. And again, I assume that the game will open up in the second half, where you're going to have more of those big explosion plays, 20, 30, 40-yard passes for touchdowns, or potentially 20, 30, 40-yard runs from the running backs that turn into touchdowns as well. 3rd down and 9, shotgun set, trips left, man motion, Love, pressure on them. Oh, he gets drilled. And a flag comes out. I wonder if that'll be a necessary roughness. TJ Watt all in his grill. Let's see what they call here. They might be calling that on Highsmith, it looks like, based off his reaction. And that'll turn into potentially a 1st down. Illegal use of hands. Oh, wow. What a fucking hit. No roughing the passer. Illegal use of hands. That penalty is declined. 4th down. All right, Packers are about to punt. And about a 15 or 16 yard gain there. And I'm going to go grab my pup some food here for dinner. I'll be right back. Come on. All right, shotgun set. Rodgers with the play action bootleg. Skowronek there with the catch, 12-yard gain. First down and 10. Move the chains. Nice job by Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, Pup always is first priority. Got to make sure that she's good to go with the food and the water and the exercise and the love. It'll put you in a great, headspace. And a little short gain there by Jalen Warren. Second down and 8. Rodgers pass incomplete. Third down and 8 at the 50. And, this would be time where you would want to be, looking at DK Metcalf if he's not double teamed. Otherwise, you could always go to Pat Freiermuth in the middle of the field or towards the sideline. And, he could end up giving you a first down and potentially making a big play like Tucker Kraft, as well as Jordan Love on the Green Bay Packers side. And Rodgers obviously didn't have anything there on that second down and 8 play. That's a good question. I feel it's pretty much up to him, how much he wants, money and, obviously how good he still is playing. Now, obviously, if he was playing like he was on the Jets, this would be his last year. But he's actually playing really good football. So, again, if, Pittsburgh or another team, wanted him for another year next year, he could play. He definitely still has enough skills. And pass deflected and incomplete. I mean, he obviously is nowhere near what he was back in the day, but again, still a decent quarterback. And if you look at his stat line, his numbers are actually pretty good compared to some of the other quarterbacks in the NFL at this point in the season. So holding on the defense, that's huge. That's on Nixon. Keyshawn Nixon is the guilty party. 5-yard penalty, first down and 10 at the Green Bay 45. Warren up the middle for a 9-yard gain. McKinney with the tackle. Second down and 1 at the Green Bay 36. Vintage in the building. What's good? Try to ends up all day, every day. And Warren for a 6-yard gain. Nixon and McKinney in there for the tackle again to the Green Bay 30. First down and 10. Move the chains. First down, Steelers. And obviously they want to be able to get a touchdown, before halftime. They want to get at least one. They got a couple field goals with Boswell, but that's not going to cut it against a team like Green Bay who's 4-1-1. So, both of these teams look like playoff teams. Obviously, you would assume Pittsburgh will win the division if they don't have any major injuries, and the Packers have a chance to win the division with the Detroit Lions. So, again, I think Detroit's a little bit better, but Green Bay definitely, has enough pieces that if Detroit has a few injuries here and there, they definitely could leapfrog Detroit and win the division, and Detroit could get second. But, again, we will kind of wait and see how the rest of the season plays out. And Warren, a loss of 5. And that was a big tackle there by Green Bay. Enigbare with the tackle. Second down and 15 after that 5-yard loss by Jalen Warren. Yeah, I remember that. First game. But, obviously the Jets don't have a very good, history of, having great ownership or, coaches or GMs or coordinators. It's like if you go to Cleveland, you can't really expect too much. Some locations, in the NFL, I wouldn't say are cursed, but, there's definitely some organizations that know football better than others. 1 yard pass there to Gainwell. And Agbade with the tackle again. 3rd down and 14 at the Green Bay 34. And again, on 3rd down, you got to be looking for DK or Freiermuth. And a little check down there to Jonnu Smith. And that's not enough for the first down. 9-yard gain. Bullard and Quay Walker with the tackle. 4th down and 5 at the Green Bay 25. And a good competitive matchup here on Sunday Night Football on NBC. Packers 7, Steelers 6. It's kind of a defensive battle. And I would assume the offense will open up in the second half. Defenses will get a little tired. There'll be good adjustments. And we'll see kind of where it goes. And we got a false start. I mean, you got to have a good owner, you got to have a good GM, a good head coach, good coordinators, good assistants, and again, if you have the right people, in the room, you can make things happen. But again, as we know, there are certain teams like the Cleveland Browns and the Jets that just can't seem to figure it out. Field goal is up by Boswell, 48-yarder, and it is good. It's a field goal party. 9-7 Pittsburgh. Nice job by Chris Boswell. And obviously you don't want just field goals. At some point, Rodgers, you would assume, will be able to find DK Metcalf or maybe Pat Freiermuth at some point in the second half. But again, if the Steelers, end up winning this game, by a field goal, or it ends up being a field goal party for the most part for most of their points, but they end up winning, I don't think they're not going to, complain or be mad. This matchup could definitely go either way. Both teams are very evenly matched. Green Bay is definitely good enough to win on the road, even though they're obviously much better at home, just like every football team is. But again, we will see if the defenses get a little tired, and we will see what team ends up making the better adjustments in the second half for the game to open up a little more. And obviously, with Jordan Love, he's got something that the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers doesn't have, and that's Josh Jacobs. So obviously we know there's a pretty big discrepancy between Jacobs and Jaylen Warren. Obviously one is a little bit better than the other. And again, even though they have Gainwell as well, it's not really the same combo as Najee, with Warren, as Najee being the 1 and then Warren being the 2. And now Najee is on the Chargers, but he's injured. So again, Pittsburgh definitely needs to find another bell cow like a Le'Veon Bell, Jerome Bettis type. And hopefully they will be able to find one in the near future. I would agree with that statement as well, and also you got, owners like Jerry Jones, that just want to profit and make money, off beer and jersey sales and aren't really serious about, winning the whole thing or even getting to the Super Bowl or the NFC Championship game. They can say that they are trying to, do everything that they can for their fan base, but anyone that's been paying attention, to that organization, you just can't do the same thing over and over and over again and expect different results. And, again, if Jerry was able to not want to be the face of the team over the coach or the quarterback and actually, give up some control and let, football people do football things, they might be able one day, to make it to an NFC Championship game. But again, as long as Jerry is alive or his family is in control, it's never going to change. Jordan Love on 1st down and 10, little check down. And Fitzpatrick there with a 4-yard catch. Queen and Clark in there for the tackles for Pittsburgh. And we got about 5 minutes left here in the second quarter. 9-7 Pittsburgh. Second down and 6. And we got a 3-yard run up the middle by Josh Jacobs. Elliott and Hayward in there for the tackle. 3rd down and 3 at the Green Bay 41. Wish Pittsburgh was wearing their classic uniforms. It would be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing on the eyes, seeing all white on one side and then black on the other, instead of this old school bumblebee, whatever the hell you want to call uniform. Throwback. And Love incomplete to Tucker Kraft, and now that's 4th down and 3 at the Green Bay 41. Yeah, Magic is still involved with the Dodgers with all his movie theaters and all his millions of dollars of investment. Another 3 and out. Now let's see if the Aaron Rodgers-led Pittsburgh Steelers can actually get a touchdown here or another field goal before half. Drew in the building. What's good? How are you? Yeah, just got to keep busy, throughout the whole year. When baseball season's in full swing, then we're obviously focused on that. And, then we transition to the NFL and college football, little maybe NBA, NHL, NASCAR, WWE at some point, down the road and around that maybe February, March period as we're waiting for baseball to kind of get back going. And, again, we'll be able to grind it out, for the most part. I like to work, I don't really like to take days off, like maybe one day off a week or one day off a month, but again, it kind of just depends on what events that we got going on, which also reminds me the Blazers are playing the Clippers. And after the whole scandal with Chauncey Billups, I wanted to make sure I was, kind of keeping tabs on what's going on with that as well. So, and it looks like it's tied up right now, 14-14. And hopefully the Blazers can be able to find a way to win. And they got the Lakers after the Clippers, so we'll see how that kind of plays out. Yeah, they're definitely one of the ugliest. If you go back, Steelers, not only have that one, but they have that Bumblebee one from the past as well. And they have like 2 or 3, really old, really ugly unis. So it's not like looking at Tampa or the Seahawks or Philly, or some of those other, ones that we really loved, growing up as we were younger or when we were kids. Even like the old school Houston Oiler uniform is one of the best and whatnot. So some colors are a little bit better than others. Yeah, I watched that game, and that was huge for Thiago Splitta, our Brazilian interim coach. We never usually beat the Warriors and let alone that score, almost 140, 150 points, doing it. So that was huge, with everything that's going around, with the Chauncey Billups, gambling scandal with the mafia, with some current players and former players involved as well. So, we just have to be able to, put Billups in the rearview mirror and understand that the goal is to try to make the playoffs this year, even if it's only an 8 seed. They're extremely young, but again, we will be doing some Blazer games on the channel at some point. And, there might be some NBA matchup. It's, a good matchup. I don't mind doing, some NBA, on a national broadcasted game if it's, good enough teams and good enough players that are playing. Even though we know, obviously, the NBA, players are a little spoiled and obviously don't really give the same type of passion and love to the sport compared to maybe football players, baseball players, or hockey players, where they show a little bit more enthusiasm and wanting to get out there instead of just, oh, I got paid and, I got a hangnail. I'm going to be out for 2 weeks. 4:05 left in the second quarter, 9-7 Steelers. But that win against the Warriors was huge, especially when you're like a young team. And shout out to the Seattle Kraken for balling out as well, beating Edmonton. Julio was in the house. And, the Kraken are looking better than the Blazers. The Blazers are still young, and they could maybe make an 8 seed. They'll be shooting for, that like one of the last spots. But the Kraken look like they, have a very good chance of making the playoffs and being a pretty fucking good team in the NHL this year, which is pretty cool. 9-yard run there by Anderson. Jalen Warren. And Warren again, halfback toss. And a big 17-yard gain. Bullard with the tackle. First down, Steelers. First down and 10 at the Pittsburgh 42. Yeah, I mean, obviously, doing Mariners is, something I love to do. And we were blessed to be able to go as long as we did and play, almost until, mid to late October. And, hopefully next year we'll be able to take the next step. Rodgers pass short right to Austin. 7-yard gain. Nixon with the tackle. Second down and 3 at the Pittsburgh. Nice job by Aaron Rodgers as they're getting close to the 2-minute warning. Gainwell pushed out. 14-yard gain. McKinney with the tackle. First down, Steelers. Move the chains. First down and 10 at the Green Bay 37. 9-7 lead here with about 2 minutes to go before halftime. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And we need 13 subs to get to 23,200. Let's go. No, it's kind of crazy. Everyone that was a part of that amazing team, for me growing up as a kid, with Terry Porter and, Clyde Drexler, Jerome Kersey, Buck Williams, Kevin Duckworth, Cliff Robinson, half of the guys are not even alive anymore. And everyone was still kind of involved with the Blazers in some kind of role or another besides Clyde. Once we traded him to, Houston, he went to college in Houston with, Hakeem Olajuwon, and changed his name to Hakeem Olajuwon, as we all know. And then, doing the whole Houston thing from, the college to the Rockets. He was actually doing more TV and radio through the Rockets. So, he's got more loyalty, over there, unfortunately, than with the Blazers. We obviously loved, having him being a part of the organization, but he's really the only guy that isn't really involved with the Blazers anymore. As soon as we, had him go to Houston and he ended up winning a championship, then it was pretty much he left Portland in the rearview mirror at that point, which is a little sad because he was one of the best players to ever play. I mean, the second best shooting guard to Jordan back in that era. There's no doubt about that. And again, if we didn't have to go in against the Bad Boys and Rodman and Chicago Bulls with Jordan and Pippen, maybe the Blazers would have been able to win at least one championship back then. But, went 0 for 2. Playing against Jordan and Pippen and the Bad Boys, and it makes sense, right? I mean, our team was great, but those teams were amazing too. Little screen pass, and pass is incomplete. Austin was the intended receiver there. 3rd down and 9 at the Green Bay 36. Yeah, but again, if you would have told yourself, at the beginning of the year that the Mariners would have won the AL West for the first time in 20 plus years, and then they would make it to ALCS Game 7, I think every Mariner fan would be like, okay, awesome. Again, because we haven't got the AL West crown in 20 plus years, and we were able to beat out Houston. Hell, Houston didn't even make the fucking playoffs. I don't think we could have even fathomed that, and then going to 15 innings against the Tigers and Game 5 and flags out there, that's PI on Green Bay, and beating the Tigers and then making it to the ALCS. And, but it just shows you, injuries hurt us too. Brian Wu not being available. If he was 100% healthy, maybe we are in the World Series. Again, just that one injury alone hurt us a lot. So, and having 4 out of the 5 starters hurt besides Castillo, and not having a better roster. Having Leo Rivas and a few other guys maybe on the team earlier than Dylan Moore. But again, guys like Caleb Ferguson, Mitch Garver, hopefully they trade Luis Castillo, even though he signed for a few more years, and we can find a trade partner. Get rid of Gino, get Naylor and Polo to come back, wait for Colt, Emerson to get called up from AAA and see what he can do to help us win. And, we're going in the right direction. Getting Cade Anderson on the starting rotation after we trade Castillo has him being the new Wu at the 5, to start off his career would be great. Handoff up the middle. We've got a lot to look forward to, on top of, Williamson and Cole Young and guys like Lazaro Montez, Durangelo, who can pitch left and right. Like, we're definitely going in the right direction. And, it wouldn't be shocking whatsoever in the next 5 to 10 years if we end up making a World Series or 2, especially if we keep going, the way that we have been, and the ownership keeps, spending money to help us win in the offseason and at the deadline. Rogers, short pass there. DK Metcalf, Nixon with the tackle. Nice play action bootleg there by Rogers. And again, nice coverage late there by Green Bay. And it's 1st and goal at the Green Bay 2. Yeah, our farm system is insane. I didn't have anything here at my location, but I did hear that, there has been some crazy wind and crazy storms in Oregon and Washington recently. Yeah, Naylor's incredible. And again, not many guys can hit in Seattle. And again, we got to be able to, that's the number one priority. And I don't think I've ever seen someone that valuable. And a little slant there, touchdown, Steelers. DK Metcalf getting the job done. Aaron Rodgers to DK Metcalf, touchdown, Steelers. And that's what I like to see, baby. Way to bring that electricity Aaron Rodgers. Extra point is up by Boswell, and it is good. And this is exactly what I like to see. I mean, the only ugly thing about Pittsburgh right now are the uniforms. I mean, if you're a pitcher, you want to play on Seattle, based off development. And again, once we, cut out some of the weak links like Mitch Garver and Caleb Ferguson, and, if we have to get rid of Geno because we want to sign Polo and Naylor instead, that's fine. If we can get Ben Williamson to, hit 15 to 20 home runs, at some point, then obviously he'll never be a Geno and hit 50, but he won't strike out as much either. He might be able to get us some, good singles, good doubles. And one thing that he's going to give us for sure that he's better than Geno is defense. We already have a liability with Randy in left. And obviously we know Geno at third and Polo at second sometimes is not ideal. But nice to know, we got guys like Colt Emerson who could play second base or shortstop. He could play either position. So, just kind of filling in the gaps, get rid of Mitch Garver, get rid of Caleb Ferguson, get rid of Geno, get rid of some of these pieces that, we don't need. Let Harry Ford, be the backup catcher, and, we'll see where it goes. Nice job by the Steelers here right before halftime, getting that touchdown to DK Metcalf. Boswell's extra point is good, 16-7 Pittsburgh. And again, if I was rooting for one team or another, I definitely would be rooting for Pittsburgh today. I'm more, if I'm going to be rooting for someone in the, NFC North, I'm more of a Lions guy rather than a Packer guy. Don't really have too many individuals on that team that I really like or root for. Everyone's got the teams that they like. Like I enjoy watching the Eagles. I like watching the Lions. Top tier teams do what they do. It was really sad to see Scadaboo go out with an injury after Neighbors already had his injury a few weeks back. And, he had the air cast on. Season will be completely over. And now Jackson Dart will have to, do everything on his own, which is a damn shame. But, we'll kind of see where, the rest of the teams kind of play out as we're about halfway through, the regular season at this point. I'm going to take a look at the standings now as we're getting close to halftime. New England Patriots 6-2. Can you believe that? Leading the AFC East over the Bills, who are 5-2. That's crazy. Steelers 4-2, and they might be 5-2 after today. Colts 7-1. That's shocking. Broncos 6-2, top dog in the AFC West. I'm not surprised by that whatsoever. Eagles 6-2 at the top. Packers 4-1-1, and the Lions are 5-2. Tampa 6-2. Love that with all the injuries that we've had. Baker Mayfield had a rough one today, and our defense ended up stepping up. But love me some Bucks. And then we got the Hawks and the Rams and the Niners all creeping with 5 wins. Hawks and Rams with 2 losses. Niners with 3 after they lost to the Texans today. So a little bit of a log jam. I like Lions are better to me than the Packers. I think the Packers are still a good football team, but I think the Lions are, you could argue the Lions might be, the best team in the NFC. I mean, obviously Tampa and the Eagles and a few other teams in the NFC West will, want to see, who's who, when it comes down to playoff time. But, there definitely are some powerhouses in both leagues at this point, and, we'll see where it goes. Captain in the building, what's good? Micah's great. The only thing I have about Micah is that sometimes he takes plays off, when he did that in Dallas, and sometimes does that on Green Bay. And obviously Rashawn Gary is a sack lunch machine. So, they got some guys on that defense, and they got some notable names. Tucker Kraft is a beast and whatnot, but everyone's got their teams that they like watching or rooting for, and, teams that you are rooting for to lose, or, teams that you don't like. And a little check down there, 8-yard pass to Josh Jacobs. Elliott with the tackle. 2nd down and 2 at the Green Bay 28. Captain in the building, what's good? How are you? Love, deep pass to Christian Watson, 19 yards. 1st down, Packers. 1st down and 10 at the Green Bay 47. Joey Porter Jr. with the tackle. And that's going to lead to a timeout. 18 seconds left. Timeout, Green Bay. Yeah, you would assume at some point, Captain, the Niners will start scaling back at some point with those injuries finally catching up to them. I mean, obviously the coaching with Shanahan and Saleh have kept them, relevant up to this point. But you would assume at some point in the next month and a half that it'll break away and be a two-team race between the Hawks and the Rams. At least that's what it's kind of feeling. But again, when you do have elite coaching, even when your players are injured, sometimes you can still kind of hang around. And the Niners have been able to do that with a lot of injuries like the Buccaneers this year. Shotgun set, Love, little check down to Josh Jacobs. And a good tackle there. Flag on the play. Only a 1-yard gain for Jacobs. And that's going to end up being a face mask on Pittsburgh. TJ Watt, the guilty party there on the face mask. Come on, TJ, we can't have that. And, I love defensive, beasts like TJ Watt. First down and 10, Love, short middle to Heath, 9-yard gain. Eccles with the tackle. Second down and 1 at the Pittsburgh 27. And obviously they're going to try to get at least a field goal here to cut the lead to 6, unless they're lucky enough to end up getting a touchdown, but they don't have enough time. Timeout is called with 2 seconds left, and we'll see if they can get another field goal here. Obviously, it's already been a field goal party by Pittsburgh. 3 field goals by them, and we'll see if the Green Bay Packers can hit their field goal attempt. It's tough to say, because you don't really know, what's going to happen with Jordan Love at any given moment. He can end up doing amazing things, and other times he can make the big boneheaded mistake. And McManus with a big miss. Wow. And that is halftime. And again, if you're going to be a kicker and you're going to miss twice, that is going to be not ideal if you're trying to win against Pittsburgh on the road. I mean, the score could have been 16-13, but instead with 2 missed field goals by McManus, it's 16-7. So definitely feels like Pittsburgh is winning by 7 or more, especially if they can't count on their field goal kicker, and then they end up going for it, on 4th down because they don't trust their kicker. And then again, if the Steelers are in the right defense, they'll capitalize off that. And that might also mean that they stop going to Josh Jacobs. And if they start throwing the ball and not going to Jacobs as much, this one could get ugly in the second half. So, but again, 2 missed field goals are probably going to be the reason why Packers are going to lose today. Because again, 16-13 could go either way. Big turnover here, pick 6, fumble, whatever, right? But 16-7, and again, they haven't really shown that they can stop Pittsburgh. And on top of that, Pittsburgh actually gets the second half kickoff. So imagine if they end up getting another field goal, or a touchdown, and they go up 23-7. Green Bay ain't coming back from that. So now if it ends up being a field goal and it's 19-7, they're still in it at that point, if they can get a field goal or touchdown, on their first drive or second drive in the second half. But definitely not the most ideal start for Green Bay, and that doesn't hurt my feelings one bit. So Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And we need 13 subs to get to 23,200. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. My boy. And halftime is going to be very quick, which is nice. You don't want to be waiting forever. It starts off with, like 12 minutes. So obviously we've already had 2-3 minutes pass, and it's less than 10 minutes now. So a couple commercials and then a couple highlight packages, by the broadcast crew. And then we'll be right back in it for the third quarter, which is nice. Nothing is worse when you're watching, a matchup and then you have to wait forever, to get back into the action and whatnot. Or another thing that might be worse is, I know baseball is getting bigger, right? But why did we end up having a Jonas Brothers concert at like the 7th inning stretch? There is no need really to even have any artist, regardless if it's Pharrell in the pre-show, and I know they do it like with Ice Cube in LA, and that was kind of cool last year when they had him, but again, there is no reason to be able to have like a concert or a mini concert, with any artist of any genre, country, rap, rock, I don't care, that there's no reason to have that during a baseball game. Like if you want to do it before, as like you're doing player introductions, I'm okay with that, but anything that's actually during the game, it's very forced, and it's just not a good look for baseball. And it kind of shows you the greed that, it's all about money, and again, you have to realize, okay, how many baseball fans are really Jonas Brothers like fans? It's like you have to understand your audience and what you're looking at, regardless if some of them have ties, of like, for example, if you have an artist that's Canadian and you're in Canada and you're in Toronto and like Drake is there, which he was, and he ends up performing, I guess, but you can do that in the pre-show. There's no reason to do it in, the 7th inning stretch. And I assume they'll have Ice Cube, out there, in the pre-show. And obviously when he does his songs, he ended up having, honestly, I think one of the best performances in a pre-show ever. Ice Cube last year for the Dodgers, regardless if you like the Dodgers or not, or if you like Ice Cube or not, I think he did a good job. He actually got the crowd hyped up and ready to go into the game. And he was also to get the players and the coaches hyped up for the Dodgers when you get someone as legendary as Ice Cube. So, we'll see where it goes, but it's just like WWE merging with TKO. They've raised their prices. The storylines have been worse. And again, a lot of people are kind of, turning their back on wrestling because of the greed. And it's just kind of a shame where it's coming down to like money, where instead of just enjoying something that we all like, the way that it is, there's no reason to adjust or try to make things better. So. Yeah, Scherzer tomorrow, and then they're going to have Shane Bieber. And imagine if they didn't have Scherzer or Bieber, they wouldn't even be in this position. So those were two pretty big pickups for them. But yeah, I would assume, Dodgers, should probably win 2 out of 3 at home. Toronto's good enough to win at least one game, and then it'll go back to Toronto, and we'll either have the Dodgers, win in 6 in Toronto, or it could be Blue Jays in 6 or Dodgers or Blue Jays in 7. So I'm kind of hoping it goes 7 games, but we'll obviously have to find out how things go in game 3, 4, and 5. And obviously if the Dodgers win all 3, then they're World Series champs. So, but you have to assume there will be at least one game out of 3 in LA that Toronto will play better, and take advantage of the meltdown, by the bullpen of the Dodgers. It's not like you can have Yamamoto pitch a complete game, which was the first time that happened in like 11 years. So again, obviously if the Dodgers can have Yamamoto pitch 3 times to win the World Series, pitch again in, game 5 and then maybe in game 7 or something of that nature, that would be ideal for them. But, they may not even need to get to game 7 to win it all. So. Yeah, and again, regardless on, what genre of music it is, it's like, it's like the NFL, will do certain shows, during the holidays for like Thanksgiving and whatnot. But, again, when you start seeing things that are a little off and weird, like in hockey or baseball or basketball, and it feels like basketball and football have embraced this like concert nature, but not so much for really the NHL and baseball until this year. With whatever that Jonas Brothers appearance was. And, I know that they know there's more eyeballs on the sport because it is the World Series, but you got to have a pulse on understanding, a time and a place for everything. And that definitely was weird. And I hope that the Dodgers don't do the same thing. If they want to have Cube perform and hype the team up in the pre-show, fine. But we don't need to see Ice Cube or anyone else in the 7th inning. Even if it ended up being like Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, Exhibit and Eminem. I mean, I love those guys, but I mean, it just would be weird, placement and time to do it. So hopefully we don't see anything like that in Los Angeles. All right, we got 4 minutes to go before we get back to kickoff. So that's one great thing here about the NFL. We go through these very, very quick. And I'm very looking forward to the matchup between the Blue Jays and Dodgers in the next 3 days. Not so much for the Ravens and the Dolphins on Thursday night, but again, if Lamar plays, then it'll be a much better game. And Tua had a great game today against the Falcons. So if he can, have a performance similar to that, then we could actually have a pretty good game on Thursday where each guy ends up going for 2, 3, 4 touchdown passes if Lamar can go and if Tua can actually throw the fucking football and get some protection. So, and then we'll be on Friday, Saturday, game 6, game 7. And then we'll be in our regular, kind of structure of Sunday night football, Monday night football. And then when we get into the following week, then it'll be maybe NBA, NHL for a few streams during the week until we get back to football at the end of the week going into the weekend. So. All right, I'm going to go grab a water here real quick. Go Bucks. All right, we got 2 minutes to go. It's been a field goal party so far. Let's go over the stats here real quick. All right, Aaron Rodgers, 11 for 15, 102 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Pretty fantastic for an old man, getting out of the Jets and getting in with Pittsburgh. And then DK Metcalf, 3 receptions for 17 yards and a tutty. And obviously we know how much I love defense and I love guys like TJ Watt. And again, TJ Watt hasn't really been able to be as much of a factor at this point with only a tackle, but hopefully he'll be able to get a sack lunch at some point before the game is up. Maybe even a crazy interception. That wouldn't surprise me one bit either. And then on the flip side, you got Jordan Love, 13 for 18 with 146 yards, 1 TD and no picks. Very clean. Josh Jacobs, only 5 carries for 16 yards. And again, they need to get Josh Jacobs the ball more in the screen game and run the football. If they start fading Jacobs, this game is going to be over real quick. Tucker Kraft has played great. 2 receptions, 49 yards and a TD. He's one of the best tight ends in the game. And Rashawn Gary already has a sack lunch. And we'll see if he can end up imposing his will as well. 1 sack lunch and a tackle for loss for Rashawn Gary. It seems like every time I watch Tucker Kraft, he plays like a top 5 tight end, a guy that, can catch the ball really well, run good routes, and he can run over you as well. They need to get him the football a little bit more. And we're just about ready to get back into the action here after this commercial break. No, I'm just wearing a hoodie. The non-whistle calls twice when Antoine Winfield Jr. could have had 2 touchdowns, on defense, and they both were taken back. It was absolutely terrible. And especially the first one where they ended up doing the replay through the announcers and they asked, each other, did you hear the whistle? There was no whistle. So again, we ended up winning the game, but they ended up, taking away a few extra, big plays. And again, Antoine Winfield Jr. Is one of the best safeties and secondary players in the NFL. And the Bucs are blessed, to have Vita Vea up front, like Warren Sapp of this generation, Levante David being like Derek Brooks in the middle. And then we got Antoine Winfield Jr. on the back end, who is like a kind of a version of a Rondé Barber, John Lynch mixed together. And it's just nice to be able to have guys like that. There are, a few pieces that are injured. But again, I did not like, it kind of felt like they had a pity, on the Saints and whatnot. But, it's like I want to be able to have our best players, get recognition for, what they're doing and whatnot. But, it is what it is. But Nelson, obviously his first half was amazing with the sack and the tackle for loss. And then obviously tipping the football to himself and then running over Spencer Rattler and getting into the end zone. I mean, it was definitely a defensive-oriented game. Offense didn't look very good. Bucs and Saints defense played really well for the most part, but then the Saints got gassed in the second half, and we took advantage. So, yeah, just a hoodie. All right, Pittsburgh is about to get the kick here. Now McManus kicks off, 25-yard gain there from Gainwell, and that is first down and 10 at the Pittsburgh 27. And we'll see if we get any people like Antoine Winfield Jr. here tonight on the defensive side, like Rashawn Gary or TJ Watt, to kind of make an impact here in the second half. First down and 10, Rodgers pass and complete, short right there. Second down and 10 at the Pittsburgh 27. Good protection up front on the O-line on that first play, but Rodgers just didn't have anyone available. Yeah, I love it, man. And again, can't wait to see our guys slowly but surely get healed up. It's been hard with no Godwin, Evans, Bucky, as well as our secondary, missing some key pieces as well. But we're still finding ways to win games, and we know the Eagles and the Lions are pretty good this year as well. And there's a few teams in the NFC West like the Rams, Hawks, and Niners. But I like our chances. And Freiermuth is down. He's injured on the play, and that's not what you want to see if you're a Pittsburgh fan. Rodgers with the little screen pass, and that was kind of a dirty hit there to the knee. Wasn't like necessarily, I feel like he was trying to injure him, but that was definitely a very low tackle to the knee there. And I hope he's okay. 3rd down and 8 at the Pittsburgh 29. Maybe it was intentional. And Freiermuth is getting up. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we have a top 10 running game with Bucky, and when we don't, as good as Rachaad White and Sean Taylor are, it's not, the same. And again, we can also get some big plays in the screen game with Bucky as well. So not having Bucky has really affected the offense tremendously. Also, not having Evans, Godwin, and Egbuka, game in and game out also hasn't helped. But, we gotta just play with what we have, and luckily we have enough talent, and we drafted Tez to kind of fill in, and nice to be able to see. Rodgers flips it and complete. And Wilson was the intended receiver, Nixon in coverage. And Rodgers and the rest of the Steelers are looking for the offsides call, which for whatever reason the call does not come. I mean, if it's an obvious penalty like that, they need to call it. You just can't let it go, I mean, if it's a penalty, it's a penalty. No one's going to care if you take a few minutes and end up saying, hey, we messed up. We should have called that there. And wow, they're not even calling it. Terrible officiating. What the hell are they doing? You have a meeting like that, and so you don't want to make your referees next to you look stupid on TV. So then you decide to just keep going and act like nothing happened when it obviously did. That's one thing about the NFL, that is irritating. It's like they call what they want to call when they want to call it. And a lot of plays, get caught in the mud, where it's obvious and they don't call it, or they end up making the wrong call on something that wasn't pass interference or something of that nature, or something that wasn't roughing the passer and they call it or they don't. It's like things that could actually swing the momentum of a game tremendously. And we'll see if we end up getting a makeup call, because like in the NBA, when they miss a call, they usually make up for it, on the next drive or later. We'll see if we end up getting that on the NFL side. Big takedown there. And that's offensive holding on Green Bay. 1st down and 10 at the Green Bay 10. And now we'll see what Jordan Love does. They cannot abandon the run with Josh Jacobs. And we'll see if TJ Watt can impose his will here as well. Jacobs run for no gain. Jalen Ramsey there first with the tackle. 2nd down and 10 at the Green Bay 10. 16-7 Pittsburgh. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Second down and 10. And Love with a pass to Musgrave, 5 yards. Clark in there for the tackle with the little check down. 3rd down and 5 at the Green Bay 15. I am going to miss not watching the Bucs play next week, but I think a bye with all of the injuries is exactly what we need at this point in the season. So it's like the bye is coming at the perfect time, even though we're not going to have Mike Evans probably for the rest of the year. And, Godwin is on and off. Egbuka, obviously is on and off here. But, if we can get Bucky back, just that one player alone, that will really make a big difference. And he's dealing with a number of injuries It's like the Lions not having Jahmyr Gibbs, but they got David Montgomery on top of that. So, it's a little bit different. Oh, what a catch. Wow. Look at him go. Holy cow. He's still going. Wow. Tucker Kraft is a top 5 tight end. Wow. He is wild. I know he's a top 5 tight end in fantasy, but wow. And then you got a Steeler player down. 59-yard pass. And again, I know you got wide receivers like Romeo Doubs and others, Christian Watson. Forget about them. Give the ball to Tucker Kraft and let Tucker Kraft do Tucker Kraft things. Wow. I mean, it's like watching Gronk or Mark Andrews or Kelsey or Kittle in their prime. A little bit of a push off there before he got the ball, and a big stiff arm there. I mean, it really depends on how long the starting pitcher for the Dodger goes. If we end up having the starting pitchers for the Dodgers go, 6+ innings, or longer, then it's advantage Dodgers. But if he ends up going out in the 5th or the 6th or earlier, and then you have to end up having guys come in from the pen, there is a chance that Toronto, could end up stealing a game out of the 3 in LA. But, we'll have to wait and see. You would assume that Shohei will be pitching in game 4, but we will find out with the matchup, obviously, with Scherzer going tomorrow, and then they got Bieber going in game 4. So, and again, you also have to assume that if the Dodgers have a meltdown, it's not going to be as bad on the road than it is at home. It's still going to be bad when it happens, and obviously that's the one weakness the Dodgers have is their bullpen. They want to go with their starting pitching as long as possible, 8 innings or 9 innings if they can, and then use, Roki Sasaki as their closer. That would be the best case scenario, for them. But they only have a couple guys that could actually pitch a complete game in Snell and Yamamoto. And rest of the squad is usually 6 innings, including Shohei. So we'll see where it goes, but I would assume the Dodgers are going to have a very good chance to be able to go up, 2-1 if the pitching and the defense is there. And again, the crowd will be a factor in LA. There's no doubt about that. But again, it wouldn't shock me either if Toronto comes in, Vladdy, hits some home runs. The bullpen is weak for the Dodgers, and they end up stealing a game in LA. They're going to win at least one game. I think the most that they could win in LA is 2, Toronto, but it kind of feels like the Dodgers will win 2 out of 3, and then it'll go back to Toronto for game 6 and game 7, and then we'll see, who ends up winning it. The Dodgers in 6, the Blue Jays in 6, or the Dodgers in 7, the Blue Jays in 7. That's kind of looking like the way it's going to go. Unless the Dodgers just dominate the next 3 games at home and they win in 5, that could happen. But based on their bullpen woes, I highly doubt they're going to win 3 in a row, which would end up being 4 in a row. It's hard to win that many games in a row against an opponent. So, I would assume Toronto will win either game 3 or game 4. But we'll find out tomorrow when we call the game. 16-7 Steelers. First down and 10. Jacobs run for 6 yards. Highsmith with the tackle there. Breaks 1 tackle, but not the second. Second down and 4 at the Pittsburgh 20. 16-7 Pittsburgh. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Let's go. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Love under center on second down and 4. Man in motion, Christian Watson, handoff up the middle. And a good gang tackle there by Pittsburgh with these Very suspect uniforms that the Steelers are wearing here today. 2-yard run there by Jacobs. 3rd down and 2 at the Pittsburgh 18. And we'll see if they go back to Josh Jacobs one more time. Jacobs up the middle and stuffed. 1-yard gain. Cameron Hayward and Wilson in there with the tackle. 4th down and 1 at the Pittsburgh 17. And Love with a pass to Tucker Kraft, 7 yards. Little screen pass there, and they end up getting the 1st down. 1st down, Packers. And again, if you want to be able to get like a for sure score, going to Tucker Kraft a couple times might be the best option. But when you're on the, 10-yard line, you're probably only going to get one chance unless they were to go intentionally back-to-back to Tucker Kraft. Obviously the receivers, can get in, and Jacobs, you would assume would have a chance on a play or two here, but also Love using his legs, maybe with an RPO, could be something where he could end up getting some good yards or possibly walking in for a touchdown as well. Let's see what they decide to do here. 1st and goal. Man in motion, shotgun set, and a little screen pass. And there's Tucker Kraft, and that's going to be the guy that you have the most confidence in. And that's just a 1-yard gain. Hayward and TJ Watt in there for the tackle. And we'll see if Jordan Love will go back to Tucker Kraft, top 5 tight end in the NFL. Trips left, 5 wide receiver set, man in motion, shotgun set for Love, screen pass with blockers downfield. Touchdown, Packers. That was a very well executed play there. Love to Williams, and that is a beautiful touchdown for Green Bay. You ended up bringing the man in motion, right? And then you had those blockers downfield. You got a hat on a hat. Great blocking by Green Bay, and he was able to tiptoe down that sideline and get in. And when you play zone and not man, after you bring a man in motion, you can take advantage. Extra point is up and good. McManus finally can get something going in his favor. Now we have a ball game here. 16-14 Steelers. Tyler in the building. What's good? Aaron Rodgers for the Steelers. Jordan Love for the Packers. Rodgers. DK Metcalf, the former Seahawk. And obviously we know how much I love some defense and TJ Watt. And then for the Packers, you got Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs at running back, Rashawn Gary on defense, and obviously the highlight of the day is going to be Tucker Kraft, even though it has been kind of a field goal party with Chris Boswell for the Steelers. 2 missed field goals by McManus, so they could be up right now 20-16 if they were able to have someone a little bit more reliable like Boswell here. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us raise our numbers. 100 likes, 100 on that dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. We'll be doing World Series game number 3 tomorrow at 5 o'clock Pacific. Blue Jays and Dodgers. And we'll be doing that on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday night football will be Ravens and Dolphins, the battle of the bads. But if Lamar plays against Tua, that'll make it a little bit more enjoyable. And then on Friday and Saturday will be Game 6 and Game 7 in Toronto in the World Series. Yeah, game has been good. I mean, I don't really care for either one of these teams, but if I was going to root for one or the other, I would be rooting for Pittsburgh. You know, I can't really root for Green Bay. You know, if I was going to root for one team in the NFC North, it's been Detroit. I mean, I've always been a Barry Sanders fan and whatnot. So, and I like what Dan Campbell is building with Detroit. And again, you know, everyone's going to have their teams that they like or they don't like and whatnot. And, you know, I like watching the Lions. Eagles are entertaining. You know, there's certain teams that are a little bit, you know, more enjoyable to watch, kind of depending on if you're an AFC fan, an NFC fan, and also if you're an offensive-minded fan, which is like 95% of the fans that are out there, or if you're a defensive-oriented fan, which is like myself, maybe in the, you know, 5% range. I mean, it's not like I don't like offense. I do, but I appreciate O-line, D-line, defense, coaching, play calling a little bit more. But I hope that you're having a good weekend. And again, you know, we got to be able to grind it out, you know, regardless if it's football, you know, NFL, college football, NHL, NBA. And looks like the Blazers had a pretty good first half based on my best friend just messaging me. And hopefully they can finish off the Clippers in the second half. But we'll be doing a little bit of Blazers and Kraken on the channel at some point. You know, once we obviously finish off the World Series and have some gaps, you know, during the week while we're waiting for football to come back. We'll obviously be doing Monday night, Thursday night, and Sunday night, but that only accounts for 3 nights. And then we have college football. Obviously, the Ducks will have a bye week, so we'll have an option for a college football stream on potentially Saturday. But if the World Series is still going on, that could be potentially Game 7. First down and 10. Rodgers short middle to DK Metcalf for 24 yards. First down, Steelers. And a nice job there by Aaron Rodgers, the DK Metcalf, bringing a little bit of electricity there for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Rodgers, short right to Jalen Warren for 11 yards. Williams with the tackle. First down and 10 at the Green Bay 38. And it's starting to become, you know, not a one-sided matchup anymore. And again, Green Bay has had some self-inflicted wounds with McManus with 2 missed field goals. But again, it feels like, you know, Pittsburgh can win this if they don't make the big mistake. You know, the big interception by Rodgers, the big fumble by Warren, the big fumble by DK. You know, if they can find a way to be efficient, you know, in the second half, they got the better kicker in Boswell. So we'll see where it kind of goes. And I'm very curious to see how Freiermuth looks after, you know, him getting a little bit nicked up earlier. First down and 10 at the Green Bay 38, 16-14 Steelers. Man in motion, shotgun set for Rodgers, pump fake. Protection starts to break down, and it's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. And that looked like a fumble, and potentially the Packers might have recovered. It's kind of funny how I talk about turnovers, and then all of a sudden, 5 seconds later, Rodgers has a turnover. ESP, I guess, huh? Sometimes when you know, you just know. I don't know if that's a fumble. That looks more like an incomplete pass. He throws it into the ground. That looks like incomplete pass to me. And obviously we weren't able to see that first initial angle of him throwing it into the turf, obviously because it was the reverse angle with the cameras. And obviously the Packers and Steeler players are getting chippy here, pushing each other. But obviously if they review this, which they, didn't end up reviewing the offsides earlier, where Green Bay went offsides and they didn't even throw the flag after they met together. All right, expedited review, they said. They finally get this call correct. I mean, you can't have so many missed calls that are so fucking obvious on TV. It's just not a good look. And I'm glad that they got that call correct, regardless if you're a Packer fan, Steeler fan, or don't really care about either one of these teams and just want to see a good, clean game. And a good overturned call there, since they missed the last one for Pittsburgh. Second down and 10 at the Green Bay 38. We'll see if Aaron Rodgers will be able to find any of his targets like DK Metcalf on this drive. Rodgers, short left to Austin, no gain. Bullard in there with the tackle. Third down and 10 at the Green Bay 38. Now, Calvin Austin with the juggling effect there, coming down with the ball, but no gain. I'm not really a Rodgers guy, but I would rather have Pittsburgh win over Green Bay. That's my personal feeling. I'll never root for Green Bay to win anything. And timeout, Pittsburgh. And Rodgers is one of those guys, some people love him, some people hate him. But one thing I can say, even though I've never really been a Rodgers guy, I feel like, sometimes when you get older in your career, the perception of, how you're looked at sometimes changes. Like when Brady went from the Patriots to the Buccaneers, ended up being a little bit more likable, and then obviously when Aaron left Green Bay, and then obviously, what we saw with him with the Jets, not really ideal, looking like he maybe should retire. And he's kind of revitalized his career here with Pittsburgh. And, they're in first place in the AFC North because Aaron has played well. And, I might not be a Rodgers supporter or guy, but it's kind of cool to see, him kind of make a name for himself as an old man, and as bad as he was on the Jets, a little surprising that he's been this good on Pittsburgh. But a lot of that is coaching and supporting cast. Passing complete to DK Metcalf, and that now is 4th down and 10. And Boswell kick is up, and it is good. Boswell is automatic. If you play fantasy football and you got Chris Boswell, you're probably pretty happy today, just like you were if you had Chase McLaughlin for my Buccaneers. It's a field goal party. 56-yard field goal is good. 19-14 Pittsburgh. Way to bring that electricity, Chris Boswell. But at least the game, regardless if you like the Packers or not, you like the Steelers or Aaron Rodgers or not, at least the game is entertaining. It's back and forth and it's fun. It's not, 19-0 Packers or 19-0 Steelers. So at least we can be thankful for that, even if there are some individuals that you may or may not like that are on the screen, for this particular matchup. But I mean, based off record and how good these teams have been, they're both playoff teams. One is 4-1-1 with that tie against the Cowboys. The other is 4-2, 2-1 at home with Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. So, Steelers look like they're going to win the AFC North. Packers look like they're going to get second place behind Detroit, unless, Detroit ends up having a major injury to Gibbs, Montgomery, Amon-Ra, Goff, or Hutchinson. But the Lions look like the better team than Green Bay. But, if Green Bay ends up making the playoffs, who knows? Anything can happen. Let's go over some of the scores from earlier today. 23-3 Buccaneers over the Saints. We improved to 6-2. We're one of the best teams in the game. Go Bucks. Dolphins 34, Falcons 10 with no Michael Penix Jr. Kirk Cousins is terrible. Tua with 4 tutties. Who would have thought that? Jets 39, Bengals 38. The Jets get their first win of the season. The Bengals hand them the victory. Big comeback for New York. Good for them. Patriots 32, Browns 13. Drake May is the truth. 18 for 24, 282, and 3 tutties. They're 6-2. They're better than the Bills. That is wild. Eagles 38, Giants 20. Scattaboo ended up, having an injury to his ankle. His season is over. But again, Philadelphia, very hard to beat. Even though they have been beatable, within the last few weeks. Steelers with the kickoff. Let's see what Green Bay does here on this return. And Savion Williams slithering, but not being able to get too far there. Hayward and Bruner were there. 18-yard return. First down and 10 at the Green Bay 22. I don't think the Bills are overrated. I think they're still a really good team. It's just that I think defensively they're a little suspect, but they've always been that way. Yeah, you got Joey Bosa over there, but again, it's like the Bills are normally a team that they rely on Josh Allen as well as their running game, to kind of keep the game going the way that they want. And again, defense is a little bit suspect. They're still one of the best teams in the AFC in the NFL, but you got to give a shout out to James Cook, 216 yards on 19 carries and 2 tutties, but obviously I love seeing Bo Nix and the Broncos do well. I love seeing Drake May and the Patriots do well. And I like seeing Daniel Jones, revitalize his career with the Colts and have them be 7-1. I don't think we expected the Patriots or the Colts to be this good. And, I had a hunch that Denver could end up winning the division this year with Bo Nix because that defense is one of the best in the NFL. And Bo is showing that, hey, I can end up being a top 10 quarterback in this league in year number 2. And I love me some Bo Nix. Go Ducks. It's nice to be able to see some Duck quarterbacks, actually live up, to what they did in college. Obviously Marcus Mariota won the Heisman, but kind of a traditional backup. We'll see him tomorrow against the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, but we would rather see Jaden Daniels. And obviously Dylan Gabriel, I don't really think he's that great. And obviously Bo Nix and Justin Herbert are the best Duck quarterbacks that we've seen, in quite some time. And I actually think, at times, Bo even looks better than Herbert, which is kind of a wild thing to say. But, I think Bo has a chance to be the better quarterback, long term, if he keeps continuing to grow and they get him better weapons. He could be like the, modern day Drew Brees type of quarterback. A little undersized, but a very intelligent player. Malik Heath there with that catch, first down and 10 at the Green Bay 47. First down, Packers. I watched a little bit of that game, but I couldn't tell you. I was watching the Bucs and the Saints primarily, but I did flip on and off the Broncos and Cowboy game earlier, which was, at least on paper, looked like it could be a good matchup, but the Broncos blew them out. Handoff up the middle, and Wilson with a 6-yard run. Patrick Queen in there for the tackle. Second down and 4 at the Pittsburgh 47, 19-14 Steelers. Yeah, I mean, I think you have to call Bills, a Super Bowl contender just based on what you have. The Broncos look like it, the Bills, and obviously you got, the Colts and the Steelers. Even though some people might not believe in them being able to go all the way to the AFC Championship game, they're going to have to prove it and whatnot. You still got the Chiefs, kind of sniffing around where they might not win the division, but they could still make the AFC Championship game based on their roster and their coaching. And then, we will see kind of how it all plays out with, each division there. Colts and Jags, Steelers, Bills and Patriots, and then obviously the Broncos, and you would assume the Chargers and the Chiefs. So 2-yard pass there from Jordan Love to Josh Jacobs. Ramsey in there with the tackle. Second down and 8 at the Pittsburgh 41. And then obviously on the NFC side, you got the Rams, the Seahawks, the Niners, the Lions, and the Packers, Eagles, and then obviously the Buccaneers. Got about a minute to go here in the third quarter, and a good one. Steelers up by 5, 19-14. Yeah, Ramsey getting up there in age. Especially when you remember when Jacksonville was, 1/2 away from making a Super Bowl against Tom Brady. That team was pretty special back then. TJ Watt in there with the big tackle. Let's go, baby. Love me some TJ Watt. Love me some defense. 1-yard run by Jacobs. Third down and 7 at the Pittsburgh 40. Yeah, Broncos, obviously I'm not as shocked, but I think Patriots and Colts, I'm very shocked. And Love going long, going deep. Wow! Christian Watson with the big catch, but there's a flag on the play. That might be on Joey Porter Jr. Defensive holding, that's declined. Automatic first down. Move the chains. And they look like they are going to score a tutty here momentarily. Like no one thought Daniel Jones and Drake May would be good this year, based on how they played last year. And it's crazy. The Vikings, had Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones and decided that J.J. McCarthy and Carson Wentz would be better. Wake up. Vikings should have drafted Jackson Dart, and maybe they would actually be a playoff team this year. But it shows you some teams know what they're doing and some teams are stupid, like Cleveland, Minnesota, and a few others, and the Jets. It really helps to have smart people in the building. And if you don't got them there, then you make the wrong decisions over and over. First and goal, handoff. And that's going to be the end of the third quarter as the Packers are threatening at the 3. Second and goal, 19-14 Steelers. Yeah, and even Steelers are surprising too. Did we really think Aaron Rodgers would be a good player after what we saw with him on the Jets? Hell no. We assumed that Lamar would be great and the Ravens would win the division. And then we didn't really know, how good we assumed that Burrow would be great and the Bengals would be competitive. And then obviously he had the injury, right? Same thing with Lamar. And then Cleveland, you don't really know what to expect year in and year out. It feels like every 4 to 5 years, Cleveland ends up being like a wild card team where they win like 10 games, but you just never know what year that's going to be and who the quarterback is going to be at that time. Myles Garrett's going to be a beast, right? 5 sack lunches today. But again, that's one thing you normally can count on. Cleveland sucks most of the time, but their defense is usually pretty good, But again, this isn't really the Nick Chubb, era anymore, or Kareem Hunt. And obviously we know, their quarterback situation is not very good either. And you would obviously know that with them drafting Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel. Obviously, they could have used those draft picks for offensive line, different positions that are much more in need. But, again, when you're a franchise like Cleveland, you continue to make mistake after mistake after mistake. I mean, think about how many quarterbacks they've had in the last 20 years, like 50, so they can't figure it out. And thankfully, they gave up on Baker. But again, Baker was never going to thrive there. Some organizations are just trapped, just garbage. And, Baker had to go from there, right? Go to Carolina, go to the Rams, get a tryout, come to the Bucks. And now Baker is a top 10 quarterback in the league. And, sometimes you got to just fall into the right place at the right time. And, I'm so thankful that we got a guy like Baker Mayfield for my Bucks. Fourth quarter incoming, 19-14 Steelers. I mean, there's a lot of disappointments, Dolphins, Jets, Ravens, Bengals with their injuries. Commanders, Vikings, Saints. Second and goal. Shotgun set for Jordan Love. Hands off. Jacobs jukes one and another. Sideline touchdown Packers. And again, for Green Bay, they had to keep going with Josh Jacobs, and they do. And Jacobs gets in. They're going to go for 2. Way to bring the electricity for the Green Bay fan base. Nice job. And let's see if they can end up getting the 2-point conversion so they can be up by 3. Definitely a very back and forth matchup here with Jordan Love as well as Aaron Rodgers. Great vision and great juking ability there by Josh Jacobs. And we gained a sub, 12 to go. To 23,200. And wide open, Romeo Doubs. And that is good. Nice job there by Romeo Doubs with the 2-point conversion from Jordan Love. 22-19 with 14:55 left in the fourth quarter. And we will see what Aaron Rodgers has cooking here in the fourth with DK Metcalf and company. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's go. Yeah, huge blown coverage there on the 2-point conversion. Agreed. And we're We're still looking for our first dono on our dono train. McManus kick, and Gainwell with a 14-yard return. First down and 10 at the Pittsburgh 23. And Rodgers sacked by Micah Parsons. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Big sack on Aaron Rodgers. And the offensive line has been, pretty clean, but protection breaks down there. Great job by Micah. Second down and 21. Rodgers passing complete short right to Jonnu Smith. Third down and 20 at the Pittsburgh 13 after Micah Parsons imposing his will against Aaron Rodgers. Third down and 20 at the Pittsburgh 13. Yeah, I'm really happy that it's not, 22-0 or 19-0, one team, and, these two teams are playoff teams, so you wouldn't assume it would be a blowout. Pretty evenly matched, game here on Sunday Night Football. And usually Sunday night, Monday night games are pretty good. It's usually the Thursday night games that are hit or miss. But there are, once in a while you get a clunker on Sunday night or Monday night, but not today. Little check down to Jonnu Smith. And things getting a little chippy here in the fourth. 7-yard pass to Jonnu Smith. Walker and Bullard in there with the tackle as you're having a lot of Packers and Steelers, trade some conversations back and forth here as the refs separate them. Fourth down and 13 at the Pittsburgh 20. Every like, every sub, every view, every dono matters. Especially if I want to be able to try to help Brooks out as well, just the basic things, internet, streaming fee, beat software for Brooks. Anything that we can get will definitely go towards just the basic things to continue the dream. And not only my dream, but Brooks's dream as well. And we got to fight. Punches are thrown. And down go two refs. We might get an ejection here or two. Hopefully we didn't get like a stomping situation like Ndamukong Suh from back in the day. Let's see what happens here. I'm not sure if 51 was the instigator. Green Bay wasn't really letting go. They had 2-on-1, and then they were kind of grabbing the helmet and driving the helmet into the ground, and doing a little AEW, WWE right there. So, obviously we saw him come in and try to clean up the play after, one guy wasn't letting go of another. But like in football, a lot of times they end up getting the wrong guy. They get the second guy, not the first guy, right? So sometimes the guy that ends up getting the penalty is the guy that gets caught, but wasn't maybe the main guy that started it all. gotta check up on the Blazer game here real quick. All right, Clippers and Blazers. How we looking? I know we looked pretty good in the first half. What are we looking at? We're down by 4 with 3 minutes to go in the third. $84-78 Clippers. And with the Blazers, it's really not, the first, second, or third quarter. They usually play really well there. It's the fourth quarter. I'll keep tabs on this as we continue this fourth quarter. Herbig with the unnecessary roughness. 22-19 Packers. Terrible towels are flowing. Yeah, Clippers and Lakers, but no LeBron. So, obviously Luka's there, but, I think the Blazers definitely can compete, even though they're a very young team. We're very hungry to be able to prove that we can be a top 8 team in the West, which is not easy to do. Handoff, and a big run there. First down, Packers. Nice run there by Wilson. 15 yards, Joey Porter Jr. with the tackle. First down and 10 at the Pittsburgh 30. And again, Pittsburgh needs a turnover. They need a fumble. They need a pick. They need something to kind of swing the momentum in their favor. Otherwise, if Green Bay keeps, coming up with these chunk plays, they are going to win this game. Based off the momentum, unless they end up getting, a fumble or a pick. The defensive studs need to be stepping up here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. 4-yard pass from Love to Wilson. TJ Watt there in coverage. Second down and 6 at the Pittsburgh 26. (22-19) Green Bay. 11:30 and counting. Second down and 7. Little screen pass. 2-yard gain. Jordan Love to Tucker Kraft. Zach Tom is injured for Green Bay. Third down and 4 at the Pittsburgh 24. Sarah in the building. What's good? Yeah, congratulations. Broncos with a big victory, Colts with a big victory, Bucks with a nice victory. Yeah, we were talking about, how good Daniel Jones, Drake May, Bo Nix have looked, recently. And again, I don't think anyone anticipated the Colts or the Patriots being this good, but it's kind of refreshing. And then obviously Denver with their defense, Bo Nix is taking a big leap in year number 2, where sometimes in year number 2 you go backwards like CJ Stroud did. But CJ looked pretty good today against the Niners. But yeah, everything flowing. And it also does help that you have arguably the best running back in the game this year in Jonathan Taylor. That definitely helps the quarterback more than anything. So Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Very competitive matchup here between the Packers and the Steelers on Sunday Night Football on NBC. 22-19 Green Bay. Steelers need a big play on defense here. Eventually, they're going to need a pick or a fumble, and they don't get it. Big touchdown, 24 yards. And just like that, Tucker Kraft showing you that he's a top 5 tight end in the game. Wow. And again, they'd have no answer for Tucker Kraft. And Tucker is playing like, Gronk, Kelsey, Kittle, in their prime. And again, it's pretty wild to see. Nice job there by Tucker Kraft. Amazing. Great hands, great route running, great vision. And again, he runs like a receiver, like a Rob Gronkowski. And then once someone gets close, he just runs them over. And again, they don't even need to go to Romeo Doubs or Christian Watson when you got a guy like Tucker Kraft. Pretty wild. Extra point by McManus is up, who's had a bad night, and that is good. And now the Packers are threatening up by 10. Steelers are going to need a minimum of a field goal on the next drive, but preferably a touchdown. And they got no answer for Tucker Kraft. Kraft is a stud. I mean, he was already kind of a stud last year. And then obviously this year, taking it to another level. So I saw the catch by Pittman, the one-handed grab. That might have been the best grab I've seen all year. Again, he was smothered and still ended up getting that one hand in there and pinned it on his hip. Everything is going, obviously better than expected for Indianapolis fans. So congratulations with that. I know it's been rough, with fantasy football and the Colts, within the last 3, 4, 5 years, but it sounds like fantasy is going very well for you and the Colts are playing great football. So again, we normally expect it when it's like Luck or Peyton Manning, not so much Daniel Jones, but things are going very well for you. Now Paisley is in here. She says, I miss you, Dad. Hell yeah. And I know how many times, you finished, either, in the bottom 5 or injuries and whatnot. So obviously that's a great record in fantasy. All right. Paisley, settle down over here. Good girl. (29-19) Green Bay. No way. Really? 6? And remember how bad it was in the last few years? I mean, even for you and me, even last year, where there was times where we were hitting like 60 to 99 points. You know how bad it stinks, when you have injuries or when the guys don't play well, and then you see everyone else, scoring 120 to 200, and then we're here with injuries and, trying to do our best, but it's just not good enough. And, to go from 60 to 99 points and to be able to get 140 that many times, congrats. That's awesome. Well, it's not over yet, and again, obviously the Steelers have not had an answer, for Tucker Kraft. But again, if the Steelers can score quick and, end up making a big defensive play, there's still a chance for Pittsburgh, to either force overtime or, to find a way to, win this game. So. RJ Harvey is a sleeper for the Broncos. Obviously, they had some beautiful throwback unis, not so much here with Pittsburgh's. They should burn these and never wear them again. I don't know what's worse, these or the Bumblebee ones. They're both terrible, but, at least Denver had some sweet throwbacks today. And we'll be doing World Series Game 3, 4, and 5 tomorrow. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Game 3, Game 4, and Game 5. Thursday Night Football will be Ravens and Dolphins. Hopefully Lamar is healthy by then, so we can get Lamar versus Tua. And then obviously Game 6 and Game 7 will be a Friday and Saturday. And then hopefully there'll be some decent matchups next weekend that we can do for Sunday night and Monday night. And Jalen Warren with a little pitch, 3-yard gain. Rashawn Gary with the tackle. 2nd down and 7 at the Pittsburgh 28. Sounds like you got a pretty quality team there. Audible with the zebra here by Rogers. Man in motion, halfback toss. And good effort there by Jalen Warren. Colts and Steelers, that'll be a good one. Should be an even matchup. That would be a big victory for you if you can get that dub. And it's definitely getting chippy out there between the Packers and the Steelers. Start of the 4th, Blazers down by 5. Hopefully they'll be able to come back. I want them to, do the best that they can with the whole situation. Personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Steelers are having these self-inflicted wounds, and they're letting their emotions get the best of them. And DK Metcalf, what are you doing, man? We saw that in Seattle, and now he carries over that bad attitude sometimes here in Pittsburgh. You got to be able to let things go, And again, we know he's got that physical stature, and he's a big-bodied receiver like A.J. Brown, but still a little immature, and that definitely will hurt your team rather than help your team when they need you the most. Definitely comes, as more of a me guy than a team guy sometimes. And a big sack on Aaron Rodgers. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for another sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Rashawn Gary, one of the top guys in the NFL with sack lunches. And that is number 2 on the night. And he hits you with the 6'7", celebration, which all the kids in school do, which is absolutely ridiculous with the brain rot with the younger generation. Yeah, but it's good that you let him and Lockett go, so that way JSN could emerge to be one of the best receivers in the game. JSN playing like a top 3 receiver this year, so... And 6-yard return there. And Steelers are in trouble. But at least for the most part, the game was competitive. It just started to get a little out of hand here in the 4th. But, it's still 10. But again, the Steelers haven't really proven that they can stop Green Bay. And really, the number one thing that they can't stop, right, is Tucker Kraft. And obviously, you got, Josh Jacobs, and obviously we haven't even really had to see Jordan Love use his legs just yet. But again, this is really the difference in the game, Tucker Kraft. And again, we haven't seen tight ends, that are really not well known play like Gronk, play like Kittle, play like Mark Andrews, play, like Travis Kelce in their prime. Like, we haven't really seen a tight end play like this in a minute as like a new up-and-coming guy. And obviously we saw him flash last year. And then obviously this year, he's a top 5 fantasy, tight end because of a lot of injuries and a lot of old age with some of those other guys that used to be good. Kelce, Andrews, Kittle, a lot of these guys are nicked up or banged up and whatnot. And, it's kind of cool to be able to see the next tight ends emerge and be able to show that, hey, they can be just as good as some of those other guys that are starting to kind of get older with age. Yeah, Warren is a stud as well. Agreed. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes. We're still looking for our first dono. Every dollar counts. And we're looking for 5 to 15 subs. Let's go. (29-19) Green Bay. Love, Jacobs, Tucker Kraft, Romeo Dobbs. Micah. And now Aaron Rodgers. DK Metcalf. Boswell. It was a field goal party early on. And TJ Watt can't do it by himself unless he's one of those individuals that has one of those games where he ends up getting like a pick six or, fumble for a touchdown or something huge. But Steelers need to score quick and they need a turnover. That's the only way that they're going to come back in this game. Yeah, that's definitely a game that Oregon can lose. We barely beat Wisconsin in a downpour in Autzen wearing the Grateful Dead, Grateful Ducks unis. And then, Dante Moore got hurt and we had to have the backup come in. So, again, even though, you get teams that are kind of in the middle of the Big Ten, I do have some concerns for Oregon moving forward and whatnot. We could lose to Iowa. We could lose to Washington and Seattle, especially the way that Damon Williams and Jonah Coleman and Denzel Boston have been playing. Those guys have been amazing. Tucker Kraft, look at him. 7 receptions, 143 yards. You kidding me? Jacobs with a no gain there. TJ Watt with the tackle. 2nd down and 10 at the Pittsburgh 28. Yeah, hopefully that ends up being a slugfest. Kittle, Utter, Pitts, Fannin, and Tucker Kraft. Tucker having the best game out of anybody, not even close. You could almost combine everyone's stats together, and they would be Tucker Kraft. Yeah, they're the real deal. Indiana and Iowa obviously looks like they're going to make it tough for Oregon. We're going to have to start quick and play obviously great second half ball. Otherwise, if we start slow and get slugged in the face early, we might not recover. And Matthew Golden with the catch. Third down and 9. And Jordan Love, Romeo Dobbs, 14 yards, first down. Packers. Steelers have no answer for their pass defense. Jordan Love, Romeo Dobbs, Tucker Kraft. I mean, you name it. It doesn't really matter where they go. They have no answer. First down and 10 at the Pittsburgh 13 after Love to Dobbs for 14 yards. And after the Packers get a field goal or a touchdown here, I mean, it's already 10, but it will be officially over once they score. There'll be no coming back for Pittsburgh. Love, hands off. And Emmanuel Wilson there for 4 yards. 2nd down and 6 at the Pittsburgh 9. Yeah, I'll be rooting for you guys to win. Less than 6 minutes to go here, 29-19 Green Bay. And again, they've been winning the battle here in the second half. Love passing complete to Tucker Kraft. No surprise there. 3rd down and 6 at the Pittsburgh 9. Chief in the building. What's good, brother? I feel bad that your Chiefs are finally on a slot where I normally would do them on Monday night. Jaden Daniels, obviously, as we talked last time, is injured. Mariota is playing. That's a good advantage for you guys. I'll be keeping tabs on that game, but we will be doing the World Series game number 3, and hopefully the Chiefs end up getting that victory tomorrow. Hope you're doing well also. Missed you, bro. And again, this game was very, very close, in the first half. But again, it's been Tucker Kraft all day, every day. Appreciate you, Chief, my boy. Stacks, Rex with a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. Thank you so much. We're at 5:95 to go to hit the goal. And And every dollar will go towards the streaming fee, the internet bill, taking care of Paisley, or supporting Brooks with his new beat software that I want to help him with. And again, his beat making skills are top tier. And, once I can get this software for him, we will go halves on it next month. Then the beats will be able to go to even a whole nother level. Beat programs obviously are not cheap, and this one is $250. So, if we can get some good continued support on the channel between now and next month, I would love to be able to pay $125, and he'll pay $125, so that way he can continue to further his dreams and goals as well. Field goal is up and good by McManus. And now it's 32-19 Steelers. So essentially the Steelers need to score a touchdown quickly, right? And then they need a 3-and-out, and then they need another touchdown. And the chances of that happening is probably slim to none. So Sarah with a $5. Appreciate you. Every dollar counts. Stacks. Racks with a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. And it's looking pretty good. Colts look like they're a playoff team. Chiefs are a playoff team more than likely. I would assume they're going to be better than the Chargers. They still have Mahomes and Kelsey and Jones and Andy Reid and Spags. So Denver more than likely is winning the division this year. But Kansas City could still, make the playoffs, and they could still make the AFC Championship game. The Bills defense is unreliable. We don't really know how the, Colts will react in a postseason, type of realm, just because they haven't been there in a while, right? Same thing, we know Denver's got a great D, but the lack of, year in, year out, experience, even though they did make it last year with Bo with limited options. But, Denver looks pretty strong. Steelers normally look pretty good, but again, the division is banged up. We assumed it would be Lamar and the Ravens, and obviously the injuries and the bad coaching has caught up to them. And again, we will see also how the Patriots do, as well. Obviously playing very amazing football here early, and nice to be able to see Daniel Jones, Drake May, and Bo Nix show that they can compete in this league on a high level. And then obviously you got the Buccaneers, the Eagles, the Lions, and the Packers. And then you also have the Niners, the Rams, and the Seahawks in the NFC West. So we're starting to get an idea on who's good and who's not. And also for the teams that haven't been good in a minute, I hope that they'll be able to lock in and make a deep run like Sarah's Colts, as well as the Patriots with Drake May. I think those are pretty big surprises in 2025, but that's good, for the NFL. Instead of having the same team and the same guys, continue to be good, and the rest of the team just sucking in and not being able to get the job done. So yeah, definitely a trap game for you guys tomorrow. But again, you should be able to win against Marcus Mariota. And honestly, even if Jaden Daniels was playing, your team is good enough still to win that game this year. Jaden hasn't really been as good as he was in his, rookie miracle season with, Dan Quinn. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a sophomore slump. It's more injuries, but, Yeah, Chargers are getting injured, and they're starting to slip backwards slightly, and then obviously the Chiefs can take advantage of that. But again, Denver looking like the best team in the division because of that defense, and Bo Nix is really showing that he is a top 10 quarterback this year in the league. All right, here we go, Aaron Rodgers. What do you got cooking for us here? You need a touchdown and a 3-and-out, and then another touchdown, and then if you do that, you win 34-32, but the chance of that happening is very slim. It's like you would need a quick touchdown and then TJ Watt to score a touchdown or something of that nature. And, with 5:23 left, I don't know if you're going to get that. I mean, you might be able to score one more tutty before the game is up, but you obviously cannot stop Green Bay whatsoever here tonight. Shotgun set. Rodgers steps up in the pocket and pass incomplete to Pat Freiermuth. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Rodgers, little check down. Oh, fumble! Fumble! And the wrong team fumbled. Uh-oh. And now the game is officially over. Gainwell, what are you doing? Maybe that's why the Eagles let you go. Unexcusable. And again, it shows you how momentum, can happen pretty quickly in a matchup in a third or a fourth quarter, where this game looked like, Pittsburgh was, kind of the team that it was looking like they were going to get the dub in the first half. But at the second half, it's been all Green Bay. It's been all Jacobs and Love and Tucker Kraft, and now the defense with Rashawn Gary. It looks like Portland is getting to a point where it might be out of reach. They're down by 7 with 6:30 to go. And Wilson with a 12-yard run. First down, Packers, and it's just going to be another play or two where they get in the end zone. And for a game that looked like it could be close within 7 points, the Packers are going to be doing what the Broncos did to the Cowboys, blowing them out by 20 points. And again, the Cowboys tried to keep up with Denver early, but again, Bo Nix pouring it on. LSU finally fired Brian Kelly. That's long overdue. First down and 10. Hand off to Wilson there. 4-yard gain. Highsmith with the tackle. Second down and 6 at the Pittsburgh 10. But even though this ended up being a blowout, it only ended up being a blowout within the last 5-6 minutes of the game. So again, still entertaining and fun, competitive all the way until, halfway through the fourth quarter. And then you knew who was going to win the game. So Panthers, Eagles, Giants, Vikings, Lions, Bears. So on the Green Bay schedule, they could win half of those games. They might not win against the Eagles or the Lions, but Vikings, Bears, Giants, Panthers, those should all be wins for Green Bay. And again, we'll find out, if it'll end up being the Packers or the Lions winning the division. But one thing we know for sure, more than likely, both are making the playoffs this year. You're going to get one team in the East, the Eagles, one team in the South, the Bucks, and then you're going to get 2 teams in the North, Packers and Lions, and you'll get 2 in the West, probably the Rams and the Seahawks more than likely. I assume the Niners will start drifting backwards, even though that Shanahan and Saleh have done a great job, but they just couldn't beat C.J. Stroud and the Texans today. And Broncos and Chiefs should make it. Bills and Patriots should make it. The Steelers should make it. And obviously the Colts should make it in the AFC. So nice to be able to see some new teams, getting in. Yeah, 16-7.5, and look what happened. And Steelers got the Colts, the Chargers, the Bengals, the Bears, the Bills, and the Ravens, and they can win probably half of those games. But again, trap game against the Bengals, trap game against the Bears, trap game against the Ravens, and then the Bills, Chargers, Colts should be really good. Those could go either way, but you would assume some of those opponents of the Steelers could end up winning those games. Ooh, Chiefs, Bills. That's sexy. I'll definitely be watching that. Play action fake. Love, looking, and just throwing it into the turf. 4th down and 3, and you can bring out McManus. And it's crazy. McManus had 2 missed field goals, early in the game, and it still didn't affect the final outcome of this game. Fourth quarter meltdown. Real disappointing loss if you're a Steeler fan. Huge win if you're a Packer fan. And especially if you got, some of these guys in fantasy football, like Tucker Kraft, you are excited. And field goal is up and good. 35-19, Green Bay. Yeah, there's not one person on planet Earth that's linked to the Seattle Mariners that doesn't want Josh Naylor back. I mean, again, it's like unanimous. And I don't think we've ever had a situation where it was unanimous, for a fan base. Even the people that might not be the brightest, that maybe didn't watch very many games, still understand, how good Josh Naylor, has been, not only in his career, but especially for the Mariners. Not very many people can hit at T-Mobile at the hardest ballpark to hit at, and obviously played great in the playoffs. Love his defense. I love his stealing bag, swiping bag skill set. And again, that's the absolute must re-sign player. Can't let him go. Steelers definitely look like they're missing something, without having Najee Harris there. It's like when they had Najee and Warren, they were much better suited. But having Warren and Gainwell, it's like you got two RB2s. It's not good enough. You need a workhorse back there. And again, if they had a better running back, as a lead, like a Bijan Robinson type, Steelers would be so much better, even though they do have a good record at 4-2. But eventually, that lack of depth at running back is going to come back to bite them. Eight-yard pass from Rodgers to Austin. Valentine pushes him out of bounds. 2nd down and 2 at the Pittsburgh 38. I mean, they got a lot of names, on that defense, but some of them are just kind of old, like Jalen Ramsey, so you can't really expect too much. And even TJ Watt hasn't been as dominant as he has been in years past. In years past, he could take over the game by himself. He can't do that anymore. Not very many guys are like Myles Garrett that can get like 5 sacks in a fucking game like today. But, TJ could take over a game, a year or 2 or 3, ago. But it feels like in 2025, as great as he is, he's not able to take over the game just by him anymore. Which is definitely not an easy thing to do. There's only a few guys that can do that, so. And throw to the sideline there. And Wilson is there. 5-yard gain. Nixon in coverage. 2nd down and 5 at the Pittsburgh 46. .337 left. 35-19 Green Bay. And Rodgers incomplete. Jalen Warren was, I guess, the closest target. 3rd down and 5 at the Pittsburgh 46. Yeah, I'll definitely be rooting for the Colts to win. It's nice to be able to see teams that normally aren't in the, conversation of being a good team like New England and Indianapolis, and having both of those teams good, post Brady and Peyton Manning era. Pretty cool. Even though we didn't know how long it would take for the Colts in New England to be good. And obviously New England is even more of a surprise than Indy, based on their roster, which is, not that much different from last year, but you've definitely seen, a change, in Drake May this year, which is good to see. And that pass is incomplete to Jonnu Smith. 4th down and 5 at the Pittsburgh 46. Yeah, well, DK's always been immature. That's always been a thing with him in college at Ole Miss, and Seattle for the Seahawks. He's more of a me guy than a team guy most of the time. He doesn't get the ball, you're going to hear about it, And again, he's a physical beast that can score a touchdown or 2 in a game and get you 100 yards from time to time. But, what about all the negativity when he doesn't get the ball, And sometimes, you have to be able to, think what's more important, the touchdowns or the negativity, by the player if they don't get the ball or the touchdowns. It carries over to the roster. Sometimes it's better to have guys that are a little bit more humble and hardworking than guys that talk a lot and end up being a distraction. 1st down and 10 after that 14-yard pass by DK. Shotgun set, 1st down and 10, Rodgers. Freiermuth with the catch there, 6-yard gain. Cooper with the tackle. 2nd down and 4 at the Green Bay 34, 35-19 Packers. Shotgun set. 4 wide receiver set. Rodgers steps up in the pocket, looking. And a 6-yard pass there. 13-yard pass from Rodgers to Austin. Williams with the tackle. First down and 10 at the Green Bay 21. Rodgers looking, pump fake. Throwing to the end zone. Touchdowns. Oh, he dropped it. Wow. Wilson had it, and at the very last second, a poke away. Wow. I mean, that's when you know things are going bad, where you end up having a for sure touchdown and you still can't come up with it. Catches it. Foot down. Yeah, that looks like a touchdown. 1 foot down, 2 foot down, 3rd foot down, and then he's, yeah, I think that's a touchdown. I mean, it's not like they have anything to gain. They already lost the game. You might as well give it to him. It is a touchdown. Yeah. I mean, he's got 3 fucking steps. There we go. Good call. After the missed offsides, call early in the game. And we usually don't say good job refs and whatnot. So I agree, Marine Bean. They did get it correct. Now, if it was only 1 foot, then it would have been 2 feet. It should have been. But when you get that 3rd foot down, I mean, that's undeniable at that point. (35-25). And now they're going for the 2-point conversion here. Yeah, I mean, and again, Bucky Irving, Rashad White, Sean Taylor, Sean Tucker, excuse me. Rest in peace, Sean Taylor. 2-point conversion attempt here for Pittsburgh. Trips right. Shotgun set for Rodgers. And that was a shitty throw. Flag comes out. And that's going to be on Green Bay on Valentine. Yeah. Rest in peace to Mangold. He wasn't even that old. Pass interference by Valentine, and we'll see where they decide to go with the ball here. Yeah, they've had a pretty easy schedule, but again, they got the best running back in the league this year. Saquon was last year, Jonathan Taylor this year. And again, you have to also understand, we're talking about Daniel Jones, and again, if you remember what Daniel Jones did, for the Giants, for him to be able to throw up 2, 3, 4 touchdown passes, I don't care what team he's on. That's impressive, for a guy that a lot of people considered garbage. So same thing with Drake May, and 2-point conversion is juggled and no good. So yeah, some of the opponents, haven't been the greatest, but you got to give a team credit, when there are winning games. It's the NFL. It's hard to win games and it's hard to play well, and so, again, and we'll find out if the Colts can beat the Steelers, and as their schedule gets harder, and then when they make the playoffs, we'll decide, can they actually beat somebody? If they match up, with a team like the Bills, or the Chiefs, or the Broncos, can they win? And we'll find out. Obviously they'll be an underdog, but it wouldn't shock me, if they end up winning a playoff game. And if they can win one, we'll see if they can win more than one. So, I mean, obviously the Chiefs aren't as good as they used to be. The Bills, defense is a little suspect, right? Broncos look pretty well-rounded. Chiefs obviously should be able to get in, but we'll see where it goes. And then the Steelers obviously look like they're beatable. They're a good team, but, who's better, at this point? Chiefs and Steelers, probably Chiefs. Broncos look better than the Steelers. And, Bills, you would assume, could beat Pittsburgh. But, we'll find out as these teams match up as we get into the second half of the year. But even though the schedule might be, quote unquote, a little easier than other teams, you still got to give credit where credit is due. No one had any faith in Daniel Jones, even including the Colts fan base. And again, a best friend to a quarterback is a elite running back, and you're definitely getting that. And the defense is playing well, and everyone is playing complementary football. So Onside kick, and the Packers recover Romeo Doubs. Yeah, but Broncos, a win is a win, right? So again, the Broncos are one of the best teams in the AFC. Hell, they might be arguably the best team in the AFC, when it all is said and done, record-wise. So, but we will find out, as we go into the second half of the season, if they can match up with some of the better teams. First down and 10 here for Jordan Love with 2 minutes to go on the Pittsburgh 48. Handoff up the middle, short gain. And we're at the 2-minute warning. Packers up by 10. Yeah. And again, some easy opponents, but also, Rams playoff team, Chargers borderline playoff team, and Broncos might be the best team in the AFC this year. So, and the Steelers-Colts game is in Pittsburgh, or is it in Indianapolis next week? You also have to remember it's not going to be the same teams that are good year in and year out. You're always going to get a worst to first or, a third to first. And, you're going to have, teams, that you expect to be good end up not being good, like the Ravens. And then you get teams like the Colts and the Patriots that, take advantage, whether it be a little bit easier of a schedule or, you find the right combination of players and you don't have as many major injuries. So. Yeah, he's incredible, dude. And again, once I get this new, expansion pack for this Beat software that costs $250, I'm going to go halves on in it with them, 125 and 125. And I told him I'm not going to be able to do that all the time, but, as long as we get the proper love and support, with donos on the channel, I don't mind sacrificing, a little bit of the hard-earned, donos that I've gotten here from now until next month to help him, continue his dreams and goals. So he'll have more applications, more sounds, and he'll be able to make even, crazier beats moving forward. So, I'm his biggest supporter and his biggest fan. And, again, his potential is limitless. And again, out of all my friends, he was the one that I thought that I, had the most talent to actually make something out of nothing. And he definitely can make it. He's seen the growth that I've had here and, the dedication that I've had. And, he's been doing the beat game for a long time, but didn't really take it serious until recently. And, I'm very proud of him. 6-yard run there by Wilson. Black with the tackle. First down and 10 at the Pittsburgh 37. Packers up by 10 with a minute to go. And the crazy thing is he's been on such a heater lately. He's been making like a beat a day for like months, and it's not easy. Anybody can make a beat a day, but that doesn't mean it's going to be good. But he can actually make something that's like, radio worthy, or someone that, an artist could sing on it. And some of his stuff is so unique. I was going to have a conversation with him. It's like, movies, commercials. He has stuff that, sounds like it would be like on a Paris, catwalk, for like Victoria's Secret. Like he is so talented that, his music could be used on like a number of things. Some stuff sounds like Pharrell. Some stuff sounds like, some kind of Victoria's Secret, like, catwalk when they're modeling, the lingerie, and they would have music in the background. Like, he is so diverse. And again, I'm definitely rooting for him to succeed. And that is it. Final score, Green Bay 35, Pittsburgh 25. And even though the game was only decided by 10, it definitely felt more of a 20-point blowout rather than a 10-point blowout there. So love you guys, and I appreciate you guys very, very much. Appreciate all the people that like, sub, donated, commented, shared. Shout out to Chief and Sarah to make sure that we got something on the board rather than nothing. I appreciate that. TJ, always coming through and helping out with the likes and everything else. Appreciate you as well. Marine Bean, good to see you. And again, I'll be live tomorrow for the World Series, game number 3 between the Blue Jays and the Dodgers, and I will be live at 5 Pacific. Love you guys, and I appreciate you guys. Final score, 35-25 Packers. And I got one question for you. Who talk sports like us? Your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, and I'm out. Gang.